All right, so officially welcome everyone to the afternoon session of the Art of Letting Go program on lesson 137 today. But before we get there, so yeah, you had a question. You want to
I
just
wanted to,
ask that?
yeah, to talk about autism and how that fits in with the Course in Miracles.
Hmm. Yeah, so autism is a condition that in our society has been labeled a problem. It's you're on the spectrum. I've been told I'm on the spectrum, whatever that means.
Oh, are you? Oh, that's interesting.
Well, what does that mean? It means you're outside of the normal, doesn't it? That's all. It's a label to say you're
Well, it's able to
not
say
normal.
that you process things in a different way
Yeah.
from neurotypical. So your brain is neurodivergent, which, like all people, especially people who have got gender not issues but gender differences, so
Mm,
when they're often neurodivergent, so it's a
mm,
different way of thinking. So there's the
mm.
norm is what
Yeah.
how you would expect people to respond to things, and
Mm,
neurodivergent people will respond in a
mm.
different way, which is
Yeah.
absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. Well, so why would you deny that and try and suppress it and say, oh, somehow you're dysfunctional, which is kind of what the modern medical industry has done, or drug that, suppress it. But actually, those people are the people who are spiritually awakening. They're opening up to a new reality. And that's very threatening to the ego's, established thought system. So then it gets drugged. Okay, well, let's just suppress it with drugs so that you don't go into this awakening. So there was that brilliant video I shared about a week ago. I don't know if you watched it, with that guy who did a TED talk, and he was a kind of documentary photographer chap who'd been for 30 years. He's traveled around the planet and he's been to all these indigenous communities, and he was talking about his experiences with the shamans, and going, just so interesting how they handle that, because these people are on the spectrum. They would be in our society diagnosed as mentally ill, schizophrenic or bipolar or whatever the label is, and then being drugged to high heaven, so that all of that ability gets suppressed. But in their culture, it's seen as a gift. It's seen as something that can be of great value to themselves and to others, and so it's encouraged. And there's a guide, there's a teacher, another shaman who's been through it, who then takes that initiate under his or her wing and teaches them, okay, this is how you manage this ability, this is how you use these, and so they then graduate from, they go through the initiation with the help of the teacher to the fully fledged shaman, who then becomes the shaman of the tribe and is able to be of great service and really help people to connect with the spirit world, to understand things they can't understand. And they are revered. They become actually the central figure in that society. They're more important than the chief, or the political power structure. The chief will consult the shaman before deciding anything, typically. So he contrasted that with the way we handle mental illness in the West, and it's chalk and cheese. So people have these kinds of abilities and awakenings in the West, because it's not exclusive to any culture. There are people on the so-called spectrum with these abilities, but we just approach it very differently. Here, it's labeled as mental illness. You're hallucinating. You've got to go see a psychiatrist. They then stick you on powerful drugs. The one chap, I think he said at one point, I was on 15 different drugs. I mean, whoa, 15 powerful chemicals. And he said, I was so whacked out. He said, I was vomiting all day. I didn't know whether I was vomiting because of the condition or I was vomiting because of the drugs. The combination, I just like eventually got off it. But like, what system would put someone on 15 different chemicals and go, that's how, I mean,
No,
are you
my
insane?
mum's on 15 different chemicals, and I can see actually the fact that that was done to her, which
Yeah.
made me doubt the system. So now my son was never offered drugs. It was
Yeah.
never ever a question of that at all. It's really about helping him to fit into society. So it's not ADHD, it's autism spectrum disorder or
Yeah.
condition, whatever.
Yeah.
But my issue around it is because I really see that this is amazing, and I can see the value of this. But like, what's my part in it? Because if I'm creating my reality and everyone's an aspect of me, then I can see how he's struggling to fit into society. And he's just been given basically assessed by the system. So he's got an limited capability for work and work related activities. So he's basically signed off and doesn't have to work. But actually, how he functions in the world, isn't that dissimilar from the way I function in the world? And I'm not diagnosed as, and I haven't got, I don't fit the profile for being autistic at all. So I kind of think, well, have I projected this onto him because I struggle with the way society is, always have done. And I had to create my own world because I just don't fit in with, 9 to 5, never couldn't do it. So have I projected that onto him and made it harder for him to find his way? Because he's autistic anyway, and could he, would he, do you know what I mean? Do you know what I'm saying? It's like, how much of this is my responsibility? And how much of it is actually just him being autistic?
Yeah. Well, it's your total responsibility, and in that you're not responsible at all. If that makes any sense.
So it's both.
Well, once you accept, it's just a this is a karmic pattern playing out. This is between you and him, and there's deep-seated conditioning and patterns that might go back lifetimes. But then the course says, okay, well, look at all of that, bring it into awareness, but ultimately none of it's true. None of it's true and none of it's real. So you can be free of all of it. You don't have to keep asking, well, am I responsible and why is this happening? Because the answer is it never really happened. In truth, you are still pure formless awareness of perfect love, and so is he. That's the only truth. So don't make anything else true and cover that truth over. You are both that. These abilities can be very helpful in connecting with that, in helping you and him to go there.
So much, absolutely, is such a blessing. So I've basically found something else to be guilty about.
Yeah. What's my responsibility? Well, actually, you're not responsible, because total forgiveness, radical forgiveness, as Yeshua's teaching it, says, well, you're off the hook for all of it, because guess what? It never happened. It's not real. So don't dwell on it and make it real in your mind. It's just a dream. All of this, every character in the world, every apparent problem, every dysfunction is part of a dream construct, which isn't real. It's based on an idea of separation. So autism is just another version of what we then label dysfunction, but it's just a judgment. Your problem is a perceptual problem.
I don't think it's dysfunction. I think that it's the world that disables my son. My son isn't disabled. But he's disabled by the way society.
Well, he doesn't fit into an insane society. But then, do you want to fit into an insane society?
Well, that's my point.
Why would you want to do that?
I don't.
Because if you fit into an insane society, then by definition, you must be insane. Because that's the only way you're going to be able to play by those insane rules. So, we are outliers. I use the term outliers rather than you're on the spectrum or autism. These are all just labels. You're just an outlier. You think differently. And there are many people who do that, and they do challenge the norm. I mean, look at Yeshua, look at Buddha. They were way outliers in their society. Like, he would have been, in today's world, Yeshua would have been diagnosed as like, you're a Looney Tune, dude. You're in the, it's like, we got to drug you to high heaven because you think you're the Messiah. Oh my God. You're just like, but fortunately, he was in a time where they actually accepted that. He was the shaman of the tribe, and they accepted that, and they just called it the Messiah, and they said, you will come and you will deliver us unto a higher reality, and he accepted that calling.
So he was one of the Essenes, though, wasn't he? So I don't know if you're familiar with Dolores Cannon's work. I absolutely adore Dolores Cannon. I don't know, Sally, you were saying something about, what part does that have to play in what we're creating? But she channeled, but through hypnotherapy, other people have brought in information about Jesus was one of the Essenes, and so there were many people who were doing what he did, but he was special because he actually was sort of really, really good at what he was doing. But he was taught all of this healing by by the culture, by the people he was brought up with, which is a different community, which was completely destroyed by the Romans. They were before their time. So now we're kind of doing that again and bringing in that Christ consciousness, which is what we're doing through A Course in Miracles, aren't we?
Yeah, I think Jesus was just like a super focused, obsessed guy. I think he went to the East. He went to Tibet. There's evidence of that, and he just learned all this stuff. And he was like, okay, I'm just going to dive into this and really, really learn this. And then he comes back from the East, and it's like, what planet have you been on? Because this stuff is not in his Judaic culture. Like, they didn't know about this stuff. It had come from a different source, and he was able to deliver it and be a completely outstanding individual. He just stood out radically.
And so by our standards today, we'd have just thought, oh, he's autistic.
Yeah, this guy's a nutter, man. He's on the spectrum. He's nuts. He would have been drugged to high heaven. Who do you think you're, the Messiah? He was way on the spectrum. He's totally abnormal. Really different. So it's a culture, and it's a perception of it. And actually, these kinds of people should be embraced because they offer us the opportunity to transcend our limitations. They offer society the opportunity to see beyond itself and say there's actually is another way of living. There's another way of perceiving the world. There's another way of living, and we should embrace this because this can move the whole society forward. People like Yeshua and the Buddha and other avatars, they move the whole construct forward, and they open people's minds to the truth. And so that's what we're here to do. If you're on this call, you're an outlier in the social construct. Just the fact that you're not working at 20 past 1, having to do a normal job.
We are working. Excuse me, this is our job.
Not working officially. You're not doing something to produce money or whatever. It means that you're not in the construct. You've taken your mind out of it, and you're willing to engage in something else, which is good. So we've all been called to that, and the Spirit will use these abilities for its purposes, which is to teach others this truth and awaken others to this amazing truth.
So there's more and more autistic people, but people that are recognizing that they're on the spectrum and being diagnosed in later life. But then there's also a split going on between neurotypical and neurodivergent, because there's like people who are neurodivergent seem to kind of understand each other because they're more accepting and tolerant, and people who are neurotypical are clinging on to the construct.
Yeah. So those are just labels for, ego and spirit, who's more open and awake, and who's more typical and programmed. And so in our world, the neurotypical are seen as you're normal and sane. Well, according to A Course in Miracles, no, that's not. You're insane. If you're believing in the ego and in limitation, you're insane. And the people who are breaking free of that are actually the sane ones. But this is how it's always been. The sane ones, the enlightened masters, are in the minority, and the majority are the insane ones. And it's just accepting that actually that's the case. But the neurotypical won't accept that, because then they have to question their entire paradigm. They have to go, okay, well, maybe I'm insane. Maybe this isn't working. Maybe my neurotypical behavior is actually not normal and functional. Maybe it's completely dysfunctional, and I need to change this. I need to rewire it all. And so then they will tend to attack the neurodivergent and say, oh, you're the weird ones, and you're dangerous and whatever, because it's a threat to their ego thought system. And kill the threat. Attack the threat, kill the threat, because the threat goes away, then we keep ourselves safe in our ego construct, actually very bound and limited. So this is why persecution of these great masters like Yeshua has happened through history, because people don't like it, and they're like, well, shoot the messenger then. We don't like the message, so shoot the messenger, kill the messenger, And he was so far off the spectrum that he just resurrected. Like, okay, you can't kill me, guys. Just, I'll come back. So, what a great teacher, just to inspire us to say, look, you're actually not limited and bound by any of these rules. Even death is not real, and I'll demonstrate it. So that's the call for all of us. Go into that, celebrate it. Use whatever special abilities you have, and really just do not listen to the psychiatrist. Do not, like, whatever you do. I had it was quite useful because I spent about 3 months just kind of trying to work in that system with a friend, no longer a friend, a psychiatrist, and we were trying to like bring meditation into that system, not the patients but just the staff. And so he was, initially kind of up for us, was like, okay, he had obviously as a psychiatrist had access to a mental health clinic. So I ran a pilot program where for 6 weeks I was doing this meditation every day, which is really the birth of this program actually. It was interesting. So it was all meant to, all part of the evolution of this. But at a point he just turned around and said, no, I can't work with you anymore. I'm like, why not? I don't understand. Like, what's the reason? Have I done anything to offend you? We're trying to make inroads into a pretty conservative system. Can't expect you're going to crack it in 2 or 3 months. We've done a proposal, had been refused, but I'm like, okay, well, let's not give up. There's other ways. Let's persevere. But I think he just got too triggered. He was threatened by what I represented. It threatened his entire model and system, and him personally. And I remember when he gave me the bullet, so to speak. He put down 4 glasses of wine in about half an hour. I'm like, okay, so you're supposed to be the healer, and you're medicating yourself, and I don't do any of that. So it's like, who's actually on a higher level here? And so it made me realize that you can't bring this teaching, which is going to crack that whole system wide open. It's just going to destroy the entire system. They're not going to be open to it. Why would they? It destroys the whole thing. I mean, I dared to do one meditation for the patients because the staff weren't showing up. So I just pulled a couple of patients in. Oh my God, when they found out about that, they freaked. So like, I'd done the worst thing. I'm going, for God's sake, they've sat for 20 minutes in a room doing a bit of breathing. Like, what could really be the problem? Oh, no, you've got to get permission from the psychiatrists who like God in that system. And the psychiatrists obviously have a business model, and the business model revolves around drugs. They drug them. That's what they do. So I was coming in and giving something alternative, which I know it works. Breathwork and meditation absolutely do work to change thoughts, emotions, and behavior long term. So why wouldn't you have that as an integral part of your program? Well, why you wouldn't is because then you don't need the conventional treatment. You don't need the drugs, and the whole business models around the drugs and the staying in these locations for it's like something like 2,000 Rand a day that it costs. So that money goes into the whole system and feeds the system, and they call them frequent flyers. Every year you've got 3 weeks of medical aid where it's paid for mental health. So what the psychiatrists do is they go, okay, so who's on our books? Oh, they came last year. It's 11 months. We'll call them up and book them in a month's time. So then we get another bit of revenue because the medical aid will pay, and they fly through the system again. They have a little like 3-week holiday in one of these facilities, and then off they go again. And so it's just a totally dysfunctional system. It's just
they're locked in a pattern then, aren't they? They're just locked in that pattern. And what I've observed with autism is that the people that are most challenged by Eric's behavior are people who are probably on the spectrum but don't want to admit it. And you get the same with homophobia, don't you? So most homophobics are actually they're insecure about their own sexuality, and that's why they're homophobic. So it's an interesting thing, isn't it? And the psychiatrists quite often go into that work because they're worried about the stability of their own mental health, and that's why they're drawn to do it. So it's interesting. So we often, like you were trying to get the system from within. So we're trying to get the system within. Now, the autism thing is about getting the system from the outside, isn't it? Because it's kind of changing the whole paradigm, because you've got this whole body of people. It's 1 in 20, I think, in America I don't know when that statistic came out, but it's a vast majority of people. It's a lot of people, isn't it? Vast minority of people that are forcing the system to change. And that are not going to necessarily, there's not enough funding to put them all through the mental health process. But also mindfulness is now a key thing, isn't it? It's a real buzzword. In the like the doctors, they're talking about, they're prescribing meditation instead of drugs. They're realizing that meditation is more powerful for people who've got mental health issues than drugs, that it's more effective, because they're starting to do studies on that. So it's started to enter into our paradigm, hasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, it has. Mindfulness is just meditation rebranded for our society.
So that people can stomach it because they're not scared of it then.
Yeah,
they're not scared because it's not so challenging to their patterning.
You just rebrand it. So there's a guy called Jon Kabat-Zinn who's, he just did that. He went, okay, this all stuff is all there. It's ancient. This is nothing new age about it. This goes back to the Buddha and beyond. And he took the principles really of Vipassana meditation. That's what I did the Vipassana meditation training just over a year ago. And I'm like, well, this is just mindfulness. It's breath watching, and it's watching the body. That's all it is. But we don't call it Vipassana, and we don't associate it with the Buddhist teaching. We call it mindfulness, and we just focus on the technique. Then it divorces it from, all of that spiritual teaching and the Buddhist teaching, and then it's not religious. It's just a practice. And so that's what mindfulness has done, which is, I think, a good thing, because all of that. When I did the course, they bring in a whole lot of the Buddhist stuff, and there's like chanting and it's like, do we really need that? Do we really need this, or could we just focus on the technique? You don't actually need a lot of the trappings, because the technique itself works to change your consciousness. So mindfulness is just Vipassana rebranded for the modern age and called something else. And then it's acceptable to people. Call it Vipassana and Buddhism. People go, ooh, that's whatever. It's dangerous. I once had someone come to one of my meditations, and she said she saw the Buddhist symbol. She said, oh, this is the devil's work, because the Buddhist symbol is like in the yoga studio. I'm like, oh God, okay. And they left. She was like, no, I can't,
because it was taken by the Nazis, wasn't it? They adopted that symbol. Is that the one you're talking about?
Well, it's the the yogic, the one they have in the yoga. So she saw that, and her conditioning is like, oh, that's the sign of the devil, So I'm going into the devil's haven here. Her husband was much more open. She brought him from. They drew in like 40 minutes from another part of Johannesburg, which is a bit less enlightened. So they rock in there, and he's like open to it. And she's just like, nah, absolutely, it's not happening. So the class didn't happen. She just because her conditioning wouldn't allow it. So now, she would go, well, I'm normal and you're dysfunctional, but actually she's just so limited. Her paradigm is so limited, and she's in the prison of her own beliefs. So yeah, I mean, what's happening in society is all of these constructs, these beliefs are being challenged and broken down. And I think in our lifetime we're going to see a different system. Like different systems in all areas of life, financial, medical, healthcare.
So it boils down to fear. It does boil down to fear, doesn't it? And part of the ritual process is actually to allow the ego to feel comfortable, because when you go through the ritual, then the ego recognizes that, and then you know that you're safe. So people can't always just jump straight in. They sometimes have to go through that ritual process, don't they? So like even in meditating, like when you take us through meditation, you bring us into that moment. We don't just automatically jump into it. You bring us into it and get us to concentrate on our breath. So it's part of the ritual, so the ego can calm down and go, this is safe, what we're doing is okay, we know we're going to be okay and we can do this. So,
yeah, and the practices are the means to get into these altered states and to allow yourself to have the experience. And so the ritual for ritual's sake is that's
no
helping you. But a spiritual practice, things like breath work, meditation, it does change your mindset. It changes your state. So that's valuable. It's a valuable technique to incorporate. You're not doing it for any other reason than that it changes your state of mind, and you can now go into experientially understanding what the course is teaching. Greater love and peace and joy, and you feel it, and that's huge, massive benefit. So you can't really get this stuff intellectually. It's experiential. It's in the end, yeah, you can talk about love and peace and joy and enlightenment until the cows come home, but if you're not experiencing it, it's a dry theory. So there's a difference between a theologian or a philosopher who's just in the intellect and concepts and someone who's actually experiencing it. That's a mystic. Okay, you're actually having the first-hand experience, so you can speak from the experience, and that is obviously much more powerful than conceptual knowledge, which you've learned from somewhere else. You've studied a book, so you can study as a theologian for years and years and years and never really have an experience and not actually really get it at all, which is often the case. And then one mystic experience will just blow that all away and give you a much deeper insight than you could have in years and years of study. That's how it works, because it's like a download. I mean, you know what happens when you get these moments of insight. It's like, whoa, wow. Okay, I'm just like whoosh. I'm getting a download from a higher source. It's not book learning. It's not learning of this world. It's just like it's coming in. So that's what the mystics do, and that's why they're the most powerful people in our world, because they're downloading from source and they're able to bring it into this world. So I hope does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah. I think I answered quite a few different questions.
That's how it goes, So
yeah.
it's holistic. You can't separate it out, but just try and don't see your son as abnormal. He's just
no. I don't, and that was the thing, is that I absolutely my ex-partner was on the spectrum, and I didn't know, but the thing I was most attracted to about him was because he was different and he didn't feel bound by convention, and I love that. I absolutely adore that. So to see that in my son is just, I think is amazing. It's really liberating. But what I struggle with is witnessing how the rest of society limits him, where he suffers from anxiety because of the expectations that are put on him. Which is kind of why I've pushed for him to go through the system, and has now got the label and he's got the freedom now to just be himself and find his own groove, without the worry of having to go and get a job and all the rest of it. He's being supported where I couldn't financially support him, so the system was so that's the thing. But it was just that was my worry, is like, is it my fault kind of thing? But I realize now it's just me projecting my guilt, instead of feeling guilty about the separation and that I've separated from God and believed in that now I'm feeling guilty about my son instead, because I'm just transferring that emotion,
projecting your guilt onto him. But it's all, from the Spirit's perspective, it's all perfect in its imperfection, because it's a lesson for both of you. You chose him as a son, he chose you as a mother, and so there's lessons to be learned, and this is part of both of your awakening. So why would you resist that? It's all part of the awakening process for you.
We did some EAM when my early days, when he was still open to doing EAM with me, and we found that this was his first life as a human, and all his previous lives had been cats, and because he had a real thing about cats, so it kind of made sense, and that he'd been my familiar in a previous life, and there was all this story that kind of unraveled. It was really interesting. I like, whether it's true or not, it doesn't really matter. It really isn't relevant. It was just this whole idea that he was bound to me in some way, and that there is something that's playing out, and because he's my youngest son still with me and all this, and it was almost like I had lessons to learn through his father, and maybe I just didn't get them. So now I've got his son to carry on with the teaching, but obviously a different dynamic, because there's unconditional love there for him, which I didn't have for his dad. So it's really interesting, but there's a real purpose to that. I can see that, and I just think it's a blessing. But there's just that pain in seeing someone else's pain and their struggle. So you
have to remember that pain isn't real.
Exactly.
Your perception.
I'm here for you to remind me of that.
You just have a perceptual problem. Pain is a perceptual problem, Any pain is part of the perceptual problem that is the ego. And Yeshua is just asking us to get beyond that, right? It's a perceptual problem. There is no pain, not his pain, not your pain. None of it's true and none of it's real. So don't make it real. So the ego gets you in these special relationships, especially if it's a son or daughter, because but I'm a mother. I have to feel his pain. Or do you? Was that
Well,
just another cunning way the ego's sneaking in there and
so
making pain real?
so I don't. So this is sorry, I'm kind of hijacking this session, but so I ignore a lot of the things he says to me, and then he'll turn around and say to me, "Well, you obviously don't care because you're not buying into. I'm not buying into what he's saying to me, and I'm just kind of like listening and dismissing it or whatever, processing it my own way." And then he says, "Well, you obviously don't care about me," so he's pulling me into that story. So what's that about?
Well, that's called the ego saying I want sympathy. I want sympathy for my my apparent pain and suffering, which of course makes it real. So your answer is like, no, I'm seeing you as you truly are. You are not in pain. You are not suffering. You are the one self. You are the Christ. Whatever language is going to work for him. Maybe that's not going to work for him.
Okay, yeah, that's
you are the true self, and you're not really in pain. So you're asking me to see you in pain, and that is actually to demean you and to see you as you're not, and to condemn you to pain and suffering and sickness and death. So actually, no, I'm seeing you in your higher self and recognize that, and I'm holding you to that. I'm giving you the opportunity through my perception, my correct perception, to hold to that awareness yourself. If you explain that to him, he might go, oh, okay, well, that's a different take on it. And he might just think about it and go, well, maybe actually when mum's not, buying into my sympathy play, she's actually loving me. Maybe that's unconditional love. Maybe that's what it looks like. It doesn't look like, oh, shame, you poor thing, poor lovey-dovey, and let me just stroke your ego with a lot of sympathy. That's not really helping him. It just reinforces the pattern of pain and dysfunction, and that's all real. So you just got to hold to the truth and explain it to him. So this is what I'm doing. I'm seeing you as you really are. I'm not joining you in your pain, because that would be to deny who you are, and in fact condemn you to that reality. Because who's going to pull you out of it if I don't help you? You probably is the primary person he has a relationship with in this world. So who else is going to do it if I don't do it for you? And then I'm teaching you by my misperception that you are something you're not, that you're in pain, you're suffering, you're limited, you're a victim. You can't ask me to teach you that, because you're not that. And that's not unconditional love. I wouldn't be loving you if I taught you that by honoring your ego's play for sympathy, because I can't do that if I unconditionally love you.
That is absolutely amazing. Thank you so much. That is brilliant.
You explain that to him, maybe he might go, oh, actually.
Well, he's got one over on me because I didn't give him paracetamol or painkillers when he had appendicitis. So he keeps reminding me of that one. But, I keep telling him I saved his life, but that's slightly different. It's kind of become a joke. But that's so true, not buying into, because I hold, that's why I've had such difficulty processing the fact that he's labelled as autistic, because I never saw him as being different. And so the fact that society has, and it's not been apparent until the last couple of years when he started adulting, that he's not able to fit in. I never saw him as having any issues at all. So it's been a real struggle. So I need to just maintain that then and stop letting him draw me into his story.
You need to be really strong. This is the truth. Only the truth is true. And I will hold to the truth no matter what. This is what Yeshua is teaching us. So practice, and join these sessions, because you just get reminded over and over again, this is the truth. And there is no other way. Whatever the problem is, whether it's autism or whatever the apparent dysfunction is that the ego has created, there's no other way of dealing with it than this radical forgiveness. Nothing else is really going to work. You can try. You've probably tried many things. We all have. But there isn't really any other solution to the problem than radical forgiveness, and really saying, I'm letting it all go and I'm denying it entirely. I deny it entirely or not at all. Can't have a little bit of dysfunction, a little bit of separation. This is one or the other here. So if you can hold to that and explain to him why you're doing that in words that he'll understand, you're giving him a great gift. This could be part of his own awakening. Like, oh wow, actually,
Totally.
I'm
Yeah.
understanding what Mum's doing for me, and I start to have an appreciation for what you've done, and then he actually appreciates you and is grateful, and that's part of unconditional love, rather than going, oh well, you just you don't care. So you've got to pull him out of the specialness. See, this is the special relationship. Pull him out of the specialness into a holy relationship. And you, as the miracle worker, have to do that because he's not quite there. He's not at the same level of awareness as you are yet. But
Well,
you need
no, not on a
to take
conscious
him.
level, but unconsciously he is. He's far more advanced than I am because he's creating this. He refuses to do any of the healing modalities that I use. He won't do anything. He won't talk to anybody, and he's insisting that he's finding his own way.
Hmm.
So he's far more advanced than I am, and it's just not consciously aware of where he is.
Hmm. So
Really,
he wouldn't know about this kind of teaching and radical forgiveness and how to apply this thought system in a disciplined, systematic way. So
no, he has to
that's up to you.
relearn that.
That's
But
up to
he's
you as a miracle worker to
yeah,
teach them
he's
by
he,
demonstration.
yeah. So I'll do. But he's been exposed to like all of like Abraham Hicks and all this stuff since he was
Hmm.
4 or 5. So
Yeah.
he's been listening. So he's very aware of and
Yeah.
things that I talk to him about. He'll teach his friends
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
well. So he is very aware of all this. But that's amazing. Thank you. So I will make that bring that consciously into
Yeah.
my practice
Yeah.
now.
My
So
pleasure.
you've answered my question. So thank you so
Okay,
much.
fantastic.
Thank you.
So anything else to share, anyone, or should we dive into the teaching today?
Thank you.
Well, we've kind of already been going for an hour, so
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for letting me
yeah,
have
yeah,
that.
and you've got to go in 15 minutes, haven't you?
I've
So
got to go. I know I got so
yeah,
much from
yeah.
you two, so thank you.
Okay, so let me share my screen.
That applies to my son as well, and I'm sure it applies to Sue's mum as well, and so it applies to us all.
Okay, so you've all got autistic people in your lives. Okay, so hopefully that was helpful. So, the course, what I love about this teaching is it really applies universally to everything. You say, well, how does this fit into the course? Well, just apply the teaching. It's radical forgiveness. It's a radical letting go, and it applies to anything that's showing up in your experience. This is why he's saying, this is the one answer to all the apparent problems that you perceive in this world. Okay, so shall we have a little read of the quote and then the teaching? So, yeah, if you can read the quote for us and the first paragraph, please.
Other people are going to find healing in your wounds. Your greatest life messages and your most effective ministry will come out of your deepest hurts. By Rick Warren. Today's quote by American pastor Rick Warren follows on nicely from yesterday's quote and workbook lesson by showing you how your deepest hurts can be transformed into your highest purpose, which is to heal your own mind and help others to do the same.
Okay, so any thoughts on that?
Well, it's just what we've been talking about, really, isn't it? In autism and about holding people to that.
Your deepest hurt. So, this might have hurt you, but that deepest hurt you transform into your highest purpose. So maybe through your experience, just an idea, you could start something for autistic people with autism. You start a teaching, a course, and you go, I will teach you these insights around autism. So that becomes the modality that then allows people to learn this teaching. And you specialize, you have a niche, because there's so many angles to this, and that could become a whole business model. That's how it works.
It's crossed my mind. Sally and I have already spoken about this, because we've both got something common.
So now you've just got some more teaching from Spirit about it, and if you put that in, the essence of what I told you today, you put that in as the foundation of a system to help parents and other people who are in relationships with autistic people, I think you probably have a very high take-up. People would go, oh wow, this is amazing. I can actually
Yeah, I think there's a lot of resistance. Well, okay, it could be my resistance, but from my experience, when I've worked with, been in groups with people, where I've tried to say to the parents or the carers that actually you need to look at yourself and accept the autistic person for who they are, rather than trying to change them. It's not gone down well. So,
Yeah.
but I'm sure there've got to be.
There will be. You see, you're never going to appeal to the mass, but all you need is a niche. You go, okay, in that autistic niche, it seems to be growing because there's more autistic people in the world than ever. Within that, there might be 10% of people who are open to this.
Yeah.
And that's all you need. If you can tap into that, you don't need thousands, millions. You need, a good. I think I read somewhere, if you can get a 1,000 people who are following you, like everything you do, and they like avid followers, you can make a living from that. You can make a very good living, just 1,000 people out of the whole world of autism. I mean, that's not a lot, really. Talking, that's a small percentage of that market. And just by focusing in it, in a similar way I've done with this course, it's like focusing on the niche and just really trying to add value, really try and do something that's valuable to them that maybe no one else is doing. And you'll attract them, no doubt. And
you're teaching what you want to learn, aren't you?
Well,
that's
exactly.
what the course says.
So your purpose, your highest purpose, comes out of the hurt, the dysfunction.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, well, now my purpose evolves out of that, and that's what Rick Warren is saying. You're going to find healing in your wounds. The greatest life message, your most effective ministry, will come out of your deepest hurts. It's very profound wisdom, because where the ego's got you most deeply, and that's where you've really learned the lesson, and you've learned to overcome it. There will be, for sure, be other people who are struggling to overcome it, but you've taken that journey, so you can teach them within that, whatever that difficulty is. And there's many versions. So every pain, every bit of suffering, every dysfunction that the ego has sponsored is the opportunity for the spirit to reinterpret it and give you an inspired life purpose in doing that. And this is how healers do it. People come, they have a dysfunction, they have a challenge, and then they turn it around, they see it differently, they overcome it, and then that becomes their life's purpose, to teach that to others, because they've done it with that particular problem so well. So yeah, powerful stuff. And just go with it. If you let the spirit guide you, it will take this idea and go, okay, well, here's the next step in it. So a lot of people are like, well, where do I start? Well, just start with the next step. If you ask for the guidance and you get guidance to do something, okay, we'll make a phone call, do a bit of research online, register a domain, then do it. Just take the next step, and then the next one will follow, and the next one, and the next one. And that's how you allow this flow to start happening for you. And this is the best way of creating something new, a new business, whatever. Just do it step by step. You can't plan it all at once. The model of, okay, well, have your business plan and then no, it's an iterative process. Just do something and follow the track every day. And then over time it just grows and gets some momentum. And I've seen that personally with this Art of Letting Go. It was just an idea 4 years ago. This was just an idea. I was like, okay, I'd like to do this. I was just like, okay, we'll take the first step, and then the next one, and then the next one, and it evolves, and it starts getting a life of its own, and the spirit comes into it, and if it's helpful to people, it uses the form to for its purposes of at-one-ment. Okay, so happy with that. Next one, if you can read that, Sue. An outstanding example of this is Anita Moorjani. You read the next 2 paragraphs for us, please.
Okay, an outstanding example of this is Anita Moorjani, who I mentioned in yesterday's email. In case you missed that, here's a quick summary of Anita's miraculous and inspiring story. In early 2006, she had advanced so-called terminal cancer that had ravaged her body to the point where her major organs started failing. The doctors told her family to say their goodbyes because there was nothing more they could do for her, and she was certainly going to die. She slipped into a coma and experienced what she described as expanded awareness of her surroundings, including conversations happening elsewhere in the hospital. And blissful peace and joy. Then, on the advice of her dead father and best friend, to whom she talked while she was in this superconscious state, she chose to return her awareness to her body after 30 hours in a coma, and to live her life fearlessly from that moment onwards.
So yeah, this I don't know if you're familiar with Anita's story, but pretty amazing one, because she was so far gone. She was really hours away from death, according to the doctors, and she came back from that after this near-death experience. Her tumor shrank by like 70% within 4 days. I mean, that's just unheard of. Within 5 weeks, she was completely free of cancer and released from the hospitals, and they couldn't explain what had happened. It didn't fit into their allopathic medical model, because it doesn't acknowledge the healing power of a transcendent love that is not of this world. So that's why it kind of rocked there. Well, her oncologist said, "Oh no, chemotherapy can work at advanced stages." Right, she's an organ failure. You've said that's tickets. It's way beyond chemo now. And then you try and make a desperate recovery and say, "Oh no, it was the chemo that did it." Like, come on, dude. Like, seriously, we're not stupid. But that's the kind of denial of the truth, because this kind of healing rocks the entire system. It's like, well, if this is possible, this is way, way more powerful than chemo or any drug or therapy you've got. There's nothing in their bag of tools that can do this. So it's a challenge to the entire paradigm and system. So and then the reason I'm telling the story again is because what happened afterwards really plays into this idea of finding your purpose through your greatest dysfunction. So Sally, if you want to read the next one, what happened after Anita's near-death experience. You're muted.
What happened after Anita's near-death experience and healing is just as miraculous. She felt inspired to share her story with others and submitted a description of her NDE and subsequent healing to the Near-Death Experience Research Foundation website. Her story came to the attention of Wayne Dyer, who contacted his publishers Hay House, asking them to find Anita and suggest that she write a book, which they should then publish. With encouragement and constructive criticism from Wayne, she wrote the book Dying to Be Me to tell her story, which hit the New York Times bestseller list 2 weeks after its publication in March 2012.
So what a great story. She felt like the call that the Spirit gave her was just go share it on this website. That was her first step, wasn't it? And because she listened to it, that then Wayne Dyer got hold of it. It's like, okay, well, that's a good mentor to have. And he was like, okay, this needs to become a book. And he got her the publishing contract and encouraged her and, helped her to kind of rewrite it to make it more experientially powerful. And as a result, she became a best-selling author, and her experience has now been shared with millions of people to inspire them. So her pain point, her dysfunction became her purpose through this transformational experience that she had. So the book's now been published in more than 40 languages, sold over 1 million copies, been interviewed on numerous talk shows, and she's made an impact in the world. We're talking about her now and her story. So this is how it goes. And she was on death's door in 2006, and if she'd chosen to leave, which she could have done, she had a choice, none of this would have happened. So the reason she came back was to teach this in this world, to bring it into this world, and allow her experience to be used by the Spirit to help others. Okay, so all of this happened. Sue, if you want to read the next one.
I just say that I met her in 2012 in London.
Okay.
She was definitely not a people person. She wasn't good with people. But now, 10 years later, she's on stage doing TED Talks and, he's fully, isn't she? So that's nice to see, because we might start our journey really nervously and go like, oh, I can't speak to a group of people. And then there you are. You practice.
Yeah.
You practice.
Practice, exactly. And so just day by day, she came out of that extremely, by her own admission, extremely low self-esteem. She really didn't have any confidence, chronic anxiety, and this is what caused the cancer. And now she's a transformational author. She's doing talks all over the world. It's like, how does that happen? Well, the spirit just step by step. The near-death experience was like the big opening into another reality. But then she had to take these little steps afterwards to go, okay, well, now I'm going to do this, and now I'm going to do this, and apparently the fear came back quite a lot. So she had to then overcome. The ego didn't just leave her in the bliss. It's like, all the fears come back, and she had to work through that. But an outstanding example of how her dysfunction was her pain point, was her healing, and then became her higher purpose. That led to the healing, that led to her higher purpose. And if you asked her, she'd say, yeah, I wouldn't change it. I had to go through that in order to find my higher purpose and really fulfill my destiny and do what I came here to do. So she, a good example of, I'll share this with Sue, the hero's journey. There's an example of someone who's been on the hero's journey. So there's the diagram. So she got the call to adventure, which in her case was actually the near-death experience. Supernatural aid. She had guidance from her father and her dead friend to try and guide her to make the choice to come back. So she crashed through into the unknown world, broke through that barrier. And then she had ongoing challenges and temptations, which she had to overcome to fulfill her work. Probably there was another level of undoing, going through the abyss, the death of the ego, coming out the other side to a transformed self, and then returning with the gifts of the goddess. Literally, so she's female, to bring these gifts back into society, into the known world, and try and help people to understand this mysterious world beyond the veil, through her near-death experience, and how they can use that to live a better life, to live a more expanded and inspired life. And she's the example of that. So yeah, just a great example that we can all learn from, really. So yeah.
Where am I? Here's the summary.
Yeah, if you read that.
All right, here's a summary of the 5 lessons she learned from her experience and the message she shares. Focus on love for yourself and others. Let go of fear. Have a sense of humor, laugh, and allow yourself to feel joy. Life, including its challenges, is a gift. And be your authentic self. They're all good ones for me.
So I'm going to have to go. If I have time, I'll pop back. I've got another appointment at 4 o'clock, but if I've got time in between, I'll pop back. But thank you so much. I so appreciate today's session. Thank you.
Only a pleasure.
All right, bye.
Namaste.
Yeah.
So some really, it's simple. This isn't rocket science, but we need to hear it. We need to hear it because these are fundamental truths that so many people have denied. They're not living this way. They don't focus on love for yourself and others. That's number one. Focus on love, loving awareness, loving kindness. Let go of fear. That's part of it. How can you focus on love if you've got a whole lot of fear in your mind? So let go of fear systematically and progressively as it shows up. This course is training you to do that. Have a sense of humor, laugh, allow yourself to feel joy. I mean, that's essential. Like if you can't feel joy and you don't have humor, I mean, if you can't laugh at yourself, what I love about the British is you do know how to laugh at yourselves. It's great because you stop taking yourself so seriously then. The culture I come from, South Africa, people are a bit more serious. Like no one laughs at themselves. It's like, okay, stop taking yourself so seriously. It's not so serious. You're not so serious, So humor and laughter are part of the letting go of this very heavy, dense, serious ego, belief in separation. life, including its challenges, is a gift. So embrace it all. It's, the good stuff, the apparently bad stuff, the challenges. It's all a gift if you see it that way, because it's a lesson that you can use. If it's a challenge, you can use it to awaken. And that's the reinterpretation that A Course in Miracles is giving you. So it's an enormously powerful teaching, because how do you do that? You say, well, how do I do that? Well, how you do that is you learn how to let go or to radically forgive whatever's showing up. That's how you do it. And that's exactly what you're learning through the Course in Miracles and through this Art of Letting Go program. It's the Art of Letting Go. How do you turn the challenge into a gift? And then at the end of it, be your authentic self. Because that's where it all leads to. Who am I really? Yeah, I am love, I am peace, I am joy, I am all of that. And I really know that, and I live that. I allow that to express through me. And all of this is part of being my authentic self. If I do 1, 2, 3, and 4, my authentic self starts to come into my awareness more and more. I start to live it more and more.
Need reminding every day.
Sorry?
Just need reminding.
You do, yeah.
Remembering.
Yeah. It's ongoing practice, because we live in a society that doesn't encourage you to do this. Encourages you to do the opposite, or do fear. Do focus on the minutiae of life and not on love for yourself and others. Don't have a sense of humor. Take it all seriously. The challenges are not a gift. This is something to be resisted and something to be overcome and something to be solved. Don't see it as a challenge. And whatever you do, don't be your authentic self. Be what everyone else wants you to be. I mean, these are the messages the ego gives us. So we do need reminding, constant reminding, which is why, I guess my particular call was to create a program that would help people to do this daily. It would really do justice to A Course in Miracles and help them to practice this daily and really go much deeper into it, and in a year really make spiritual progress that they wouldn't make on their own. Would potentially take them a lot longer, and that came out of my own struggles to overcome. 4 years ago, I was like, I'm not really doing this anymore. I'd been working with the Course for years, but something I'd been doing other stuff in the financial industry, and I was like, I'm missing something. So it's like there's a big gap, because I'm not really teaching this. I'm not really living it. And so this program was my own healing. And as you do that, then other people can benefit. That's how it works. Okay, so moving swiftly on to the next one. Sally, do you want to read that? It's worth mentioning.
It's worth mentioning not everyone is open to her message, and many skeptics have criticized Anita's message. For example, one journalist wrote the following: "These people are at the center of a disturbing approach to illness, and cancer in particular, that sees it as a disease to be tackled with the mind and positive thinking. It is a movement which many within the medical establishment believe it is dangerous."
Just look at that and you go, right. Really? Is that really sane? So according to this insane logic, it's apparently more dangerous for these people, these now stigmatized people who are somehow dangerous, to heal and to actually live an inspiring life than it is to die as the doctors predict they will. So it would have been better with this thought system that Anita Moorjani had died and never actually taught anyone, that this is possible. Doesn't make any sense. Do you want to carry on? Clearly, this is a nonsensical argument.
Accordingly, into this insane logic, it's apparently more dangerous for these now stigmatized people to heal and live in an inspiring life than it is to die as the doctors predict they will. Clearly, this is a nonsensical argument designed to undermine the validity of an alternative approach to treating cancer that may diminish the super profits the medical industry makes from it. And then don't expect those who steadfastly believe in and profit from the ego's thought system of sickness and death to support you in your efforts to undo it.
Yeah, I mean, you're threatening the whole industry and just, I have a financial side as well. Just follow the money. Follow the money, and you go, okay, well, it's very clear that there's a bias here, that there's an agenda. And people who not trained to see this go, oh, no, it's not. The medical industry is like somehow they're doing it for the highest good of everyone. It's like, no, it's a money system. They make a fortune from this. And any system that has that amount of money flowing through it, you have to question. Is it really doing it for the best interests of people, or is it just about feeding the system and making more money from this functional sickness system? So don't expect that they're going to suddenly embrace this alternative, because it's competition. It's like it's going to undo the whole system.
And I find it quite sad, actually, because there's a lot of people in that industry who are doing it for the caring aspect, and that's what they want to do. They want to help others, and they're just caught up in this whole system of belief that this is the best way forward. So I find that quite sad.
Well, it's just that it's choice, and it's the ego. But again, from A Course in Miracles perspective, sadness isn't true. Sadness, only the truth is true. So that's their journey. That's all. They got to go through that system for their awakening. So that's not sad. That's part of their awakening. You see, you see how you can reinterpret all of this. It's not sad. That's what they need to do to awaken, and that might take them their entire lifetime, and then it'll go into the next lifetime. But it's part of their journey. So who are you to judge that it's sad? No, it's actually exactly what they need to experience. And then there's no sadness. It's just like, well, this is their journey, and I accept it all, and there's no judgment of it.
But I can feel the anger in me when you talk about the whole medical system and the money that they make, and the people at the top, and it's all a power money making machine. And yeah, I can feel the anger in me that comes up.
Well, that's good, because that anger is then what needs to be released. See, so they are just the projection. They're the projection of the ego's thought system. That's all they are. So you see them as real, and then you experience a negative emotion like anger. That makes it real, and so then there's some undoing needs to happen in your mind, because they're not real. You just got to realize they're not really real. They're not really there. They represent a false thought system that you don't have to believe in at all. So don't give it any belief. Anger makes it real. So then you're by definition believing in it. So then they become the way that you heal. They're looking upon the system, experiencing the anger and letting it go, becomes the way that you heal your own mind, and you transcend it, and you come into the enlightened state of just pure peace and joy, no matter what seems to be going on in the world. And that's what the Course can do for you.
So it's for me, it's becoming at peace with the system.
Yeah, it's not real. Don't make it into a reality that's apparent. You go, the system's not real. It's representative of an unreal thought system that isn't real, that has no reality. So how can what's not real affect you in any way, shape, or form? Do you see the teaching? This is what the Holy Spirit reinterprets. The entire system is a construct of the mind. It's a projection of your own mind outwards, and it's seemingly real. And if you judge it as real, you're making the entire ego's thought system real. And of course, you're going to feel sad then, because it's a very sad, depressing thought system where there's no hope. But all you have is a perceptual problem. You're just seeing it as real. So have a look at this. This might help you. If you look at this model, it's integral model created by Ken Wilber, where he talks about these 4 different quadrants and these 4 2 axes with the different dimensions. So on the one axis, you got individual and collective. On the other, you got interior and exterior. And where they intersect, you get a quadrant. So in the individual interior, that's your intentions. That's what this healing work all comes down to. What are you feeling? What are you thinking and feeling? What are your intentions? What are your values, priorities, and motivation? What's going on inside of you? And then that gets expressed in the external as observed behaviors, performance outcomes on a collective level, the culture, organization, values, purpose, priorities of a culture then gets expressed in the system. So what you're seeing is the expression of the ego's thought system in the medical system, right? It's an expression of the ego in the interior. Now, if you look on that expression as real, you made the whole thing real. You've made this thought system real. You've given it the power to enslave your mind, because now you have to believe in this. So the way to really change this is to go, I don't believe in any of it. My intentions are only love, only pure formless awareness of perfect love is true. None of this is true. So I don't believe this in any way, shape, or form. I don't believe the thought system. I don't believe the projection of it, the systems. And that is the way that then you powerfully change this whole dynamic, because it's all happening on a mind level first. So you be the change, as Gandhi said, you be the change you want to see in the world. That means don't believe in it. And then allow yourself to be guided from that place as to what you should do. And then you can become a powerful catalyst for the undoing of the entire system. But by resisting it and making it into something that's real and that then you feel angry about and you want to fight, you make it real. And that, of course, perpetuates it, because what you resist persists. So do you see how this radical forgiveness can really work to help you personally, because that's primarily what it's about. But it also then helps undo the entire system, because you become another mind that's not believing in the system and energizing it with your belief. And so you become part of the solution rather than part of the problem.
So can I just ask, the radical forgiveness, who am I forgiving? Am I forgiving myself?
Yeah, well, what you're really doing is you are letting go of your own negative thought and emotion towards that person or system. That's what you're doing. That's what radical forgiveness means. You're just letting go of your own negativity towards that, which in another language you could say is forgiving yourself, but that's a bit more obscure. So what we do with this art of letting go is just make it very, very clear. What you are always doing is letting go of your own negative thoughts and emotion, your block to the awareness of love's presence, which has now been triggered by whatever it is. The person, in this case, it's a system. It's a vast system that has millions of people that are part of it. But that then is the trigger for the negativity, the anger to arise. So you let go of the anger, and when you let go of the anger, what you're really doing is you're denying the reality of the system, aren't you? Because if it has no power to affect you mentally or emotionally, it's not real. And so you're training your mind to accept the truth that none of this is true. That what you're seeing out there is a projection of your own mind, and it's not true. It's an illusion. It's a dream that has no ultimate reality. The ultimate reality lies within you. That is the pure formless awareness of perfect love that you're restoring your mind to the awareness of when you let go, you see? So it's actually really simple. Letting go just reveals that true self to you, that true awareness. Which is why, yes, you're saying, look, this is all you need to learn. You need to just learn how to forgive, how to really let go. And you will come into an awareness of who you really are, and then you will be enlightened. And none of the dysfunction of the world can affect you anymore, because you've just seen through it. It's an illusion. So that pattern, if that system pushes your buttons, that's been probably a long-standing thing. Right there is the healing for you. So that system is perfect for you, perfect in its imperfection, because it's a trigger that's going to bring up your anger and any other dysfunction, which is egoic, and help you to see it and release it. So thanks for it. That system is there for your healing.
Yes, thank you. I get it. I'm beginning to get it.
Yeah. You see how powerful it is, because you can just reinterpret whatever it is instead of now fighting endless battles with so-called reality, and becoming very sad and angry and all this dysfunctional emotion, which is just the ego now enslaving you in another way, because that's not your true state of mind. Your true state is happy and peaceful and joyful. So if you're feeling sad and angry, well, guess what? The ego's in business. And it's using the system to traffic in grievances, as Yeshua puts it. It's using the external world to traffic in these grievances that then seem to justify the negativity in your mind. And that's all that you're doing. You're just using the world to justify the negative thoughts and emotions that actually the ego wants to feel. It just needs the justification. So then it finds it in the world. And if it's not the medical industry and system, it'll be something else. It'll be COVID, or it'll be the politicians, or it'll be climate change, or it'll be, pick your whatever. There's many issues you can get upset about in this world, aren't there?
Supermarkets.
Yeah.
Because that's the way it's set up. You've got to start seeing the game. It's a setup. You're being set up continuously to get upset. So remember this, write this down. Every upset is a set up. I'm setting myself up to get upset. So why am I doing that? Why would I continue doing that when actually what I really want is love and peace and joy? Is it really intelligent to continuously set myself up to get upset and buy in to the falsehood of the ego that's telling you that all of this is real, and yes, your upset is justified and warranted, and yes, you absolutely do need to get upset? Well, let me ask you, Sue, did your upset ever help anyone?
No, and that's quite interesting, because I think today at some point I was scrolling through the news really quickly, and that's almost like the thought that was in my head, that it's almost like an upset, but it is a setup, because it's not real. I get it's not real, or it's false, or they're not delivering us the right information as set up in that respect. So yeah, I can relate to that.
The deception goes even deeper, because we project this, you see. What Yeshua is teaching us is that we are projecting this external world. It's not out there, it's in your mind. Quantum mechanics tells you very clearly there is no reality in the absence of observation. So the reality of it is in your perception. It is a perceptual problem that you have. The world is a perceptual problem. The entire world is a perceptual problem. So all of it is part of the misperception that is based on the false idea of separation, you see. So it goes deeper than just, they're lying to us on the level of form. The whole thing's a lie. You lied to yourself by thinking that you're human, by thinking that you're separate, you're in a body, there's an external world. That's the lie. You're deceiving yourself by perceiving an external world. That's the level that the lie goes to. And then that plays out in many ways. You go, well, now I see a medical system outside of me and I focus on that. But it's making the entire deception that is this world and universe real. Do you see what you're doing?
So there is that saying, and I don't know if this is relevant, but it's kept popping into my head, was that, like, when a tree falls in a forest, do you hear it? That whole thing there. So is that happening or not happening? Or I'm just trying to get my head around that.
Quantum mechanics is saying there is no reality in the absence of observation. So in the quantum world, the tree hasn't fallen until there's someone to perceive it. There's no reality in the absence of observation. Whoa, yeah, it's a kind of mind blow. But quantum, if you really understand it, I think Niels Bohr said, if you really understood it, it would blow your mind. This is completely it's a complete turnaround of the paradigm of, there is actually an external world. What it's saying is, no, there isn't an external world. The external world exists only in your perception. Well, how real is it then if it's only perceptual? Okay, so it relies on the perceiver to perceive it and make it real. How real is that? Maybe it's just a construct of the mind. Maybe I'm living in a dream. Well, this is kind of what the mystics have been saying forever. So the world of science and the world of mysticism are now coming together and saying, yes, whichever way you look at it, however you get there, this whole construct that we call reality is not real, which is why it's mind-blowing. It's like, whoa, okay, I thought it was real, but it's not. and then what quantum will lead you ultimately to the same conclusion as any mystic and as Yeshua, to the conclusion that, well, all I need to do then is let go of my misperception of it, and I can let go of all of the dysfunction that seems to be there, because it's just perceptual. I have a perceptual problem. Remember that. I have a perceptual problem. I get up every morning and I perceive a world that's not there. That's a perceptual problem you've got there, right? And now what we're trying to do here is get out of the perceptual problem systematically and progressively. We've got ourselves so deep in the perceptual problem by putting ourselves into seeming bodies with physical senses, that now there's an unwinding that needs to take place. And this unwinding is this mind training that Yeshua is giving us. Okay, just start correcting your perception using these ideas to heal your perception and change it, so that you're not fooled anymore by the perceptual problem in whatever way, shape, or form the perceptual problem shows up. Whether it's apparently the medical system that's corrupt and is abusing its power and leading people down the garden path and causing pain and suffering, or whether it's some other issue, personal issue in your life, whatever. It's a perceptual problem that you have. We all have it. So can you see the depth and the profundity of this teaching? That's where it's taking you.
It does kind of make you, it kind of does make you wonder how you will live your life without that perception, if you know what I mean. So that's, I think that's where the mind blow is, isn't it?
Well, okay. How do you live without the default perception that we call the ego?
Yeah.
And the ego is saying, oh no, you can't. I've kept you safe. And the spirit's saying, no, go for it, because this perception is the cause of all your pain, your suffering, your misery, ultimately your death. You have a perceptual problem, and the way out of this is to correct your perception, and that in fact is the entire purpose of your life. That's why you're here, is to do this work and correct your perception. And now you have this incredible mind training program. Yeshua's given us it's just amazing mind training, where he's saying, I will just teach you step by step exactly how I thought, so you can become like I was, and you can become the enlightened master and the Christ conscious individual that I was, and I'll just teach you how to do that. I'm like, okay, I'm up for that, because I don't know how to do it. So I'll learn from a master. You teach me. And he's a master who's transcended the dream. He's not in the dream anymore. He's outside of the dream. He got out. Well, if you want to get out of the matrix, if you want to get out of the matrix, you want to learn from someone who's got out the matrix, not someone who's in the matrix. So, that's where it's coming from. And we're very lucky to have such a detailed mind training program that's been given, to someone in the matrix and transcribed it. And now we can learn it every day. And all I've done is put together a system that does justice to it. That says, okay, let me help you practice this day by day, because if you don't practice it, the mind training is no use. If that book sits on your shelf for 10 years and you never do it, it's not helping you at all. So this is a program where all of this amazing teaching in this book can really come into life, into life in your life, and really transform it by just working it, by actually use these ideas and apply them. And well, Sally will tell you, it's just so powerfully transformational. It will change your life if you immerse yourself in it. So, this is Sue, what I'd say today, you've got a little invitation. You look at the hero's journey, you just had a call to adventure. It's like, okay, there we go. Are you up for it? Sally, you have a conversation with Sally, you join today. It's like, okay, so the Spirit's give you an invitation. Are you up for it or not? That's your choice.
Yeah.
But there's definitely a hero's journey and an awakening through that's going to unfold for you if you're just willing to follow the steps. There's no accidents, so leave it up to you. But in the end, this is what we're here to do. The hero's journey that's why we're here, to follow our own hero's journey.
Sue was with me when I had the night where it was like the ego was telling me, you're going to die. If you carry on doing this, you're going to die. And Sue was very calm, and she goes, it's fine. You just let it go. Just let it go. She was so I'm doing it now. I'm going to go up to my room now.
Yeah.
Now you're in it now.
So she's seen, it does. I mean, you are going to go into a death of the ego, but that's not you dying. That's the false self dying. You want that to happen. The ego doesn't want that to happen. But in order to be reborn and transformed into who you really are, you can't take the ego with you, because that contradicts all of this. The ego won't allow you to atone and be the transformed, enlightened avatar and bring the gifts of the goddess back into the world. And that won't allow you to do that. It wants to keep you in your very limited known world. So there is that's going to happen, but it happens in the gentlest and kindest way possible. The Spirit's going to facilitate it in a way that you can handle. It's never going to give you more than you can handle. Know that. So yeah, I hope you're up for it, and you'll join us on the journey, because as you can see, we have a lot of fun. These conversations.
Yes.
And every day is different. I never know what's going to happen. It's like it's a different questions, and it just kind of flows through.
Yeah,
So,
it is brilliant. I can see it's brilliant, and I know it feels right. It is taking that step, isn't it?
right. So yeah, all it takes, you give me your mobile number and your email address, and I'll sign you up to my email list, and I'll add you to the Telegram group, and you start. And you do 3 weeks, and just follow the prompts. I send you messages every day. Join the live sessions. Dive in for 3 weeks, and see where you are after 3 weeks.
The live sessions the same time every day.
Yeah, so 12:30 Monday to Friday, and then we do some evenings as well. There's Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday evenings. So there's eight sessions a week. You can, as in part of your free trial, you can join all of them. No one does that. I'm the only person who does all the sessions because I'm hosting it. But dive in, and if you do a few a week, Sally, I think you probably do 3 or 4 a week, and you start to see the benefit. That really, people who join, I've just had a bunch of people do a free trial, and some of them dipped in, but most of them, they weren't joining 2-3 times a week. And then obviously the impact is going to be less. You're going to get less benefit than if you can join. You can make even an hour or two every day. You don't have to stay for the whole time, but for the 3 weeks, give yourself the opportunity to really see what this can do. And then after 3 weeks, you'll know, okay, this is something I want to continue with and make it a part of my life. As Sally said, it's become part of her daily routine, or not. And no hard feelings if not. It's like, okay, well, you gave it a try, and it's not working for you right now. Who knows in future? I'm starting the program again. We midway through it. I'm starting it again in February next year. So then February next year we start day 1. There's also a retreat I'm running in September in Findhorn. So that might be something that's kind of a start. It's going to be 5-6 days intensive. What I do in the 6-week course, a lot of that's going to be put into the 5-day retreat to give you like an initiation experience really into this, and then afterwards the program continues. So that's another way in. There's multiple ways you can do this, but I'd say if you feel the call, just dive in now into the 3-week free trial and see how it goes.
Okay. Yeah. I'm just thinking how to work around my week, because I work 2 days, but then you do the evenings as well. So
yeah, 8:30. The evening session start at 8:30, Tuesday and Thursday and Sunday. So you can choose evenings, you can choose days. The reason I do evenings and days is because some people can't do it in the day. So then there's an evening session. Generally after, if people have families or kids, after all of that, 8:30, you can usually make a couple of hours, particularly now it's light so late. People tend to stay awake a bit longer. So we go for maybe 2 to 3 hours in the evening. Again, you stay as long as you want. People stay for an hour and then they drop off. That's fine.
And they're all recorded, so you can listen to the recordings if you're not part of the session. Is that
Yeah,
the idea?
yeah, you absolutely can. So I post them all onto the Telegram group, so you can listen to the recording on Telegram while I think, Sally, you probably do a lot of it while you're walking, driving, cooking. So you can use that time to, really immerse yourself. And they also stream them live on YouTube. So some people listen on YouTube because that's the same recording is just uninterrupted on YouTube. So that's all available. Yeah, you can listen
Brilliant.
to the recordings. Yeah. So
That's a lot. That's really good.
yeah. So let me know. At the end of the session or a bit later, if you'd like to join, and I'll start your free trial tomorrow.
Thank you.
All right. So where are we?
When you're not looking for anything and it just turns up. It's funny, isn't it? I wasn't looking for this program and it just turned up. And then as I've done it over the weeks, it's got the call to do it. It's got stronger. Like now it's non-negotiable. The pull is really strong.
You were looking for it though, because that's why I came.
Yeah, not conscious.
So we don't consciously, but you kind of going, we're all trying to awaken, and so there's a call to like, okay, well, actually, I'm still not. I know I'm not fully getting it. So, how do I fully get it? And then something like this shows up as the way. It's just I've put together a program that's going to help you to take this journey, to accelerate this journey, really. So you do this every day, this work, you accelerate this. And, I'm just a guide, a helper on the path. You've got Yeshua helping you and many others. There's other people in the community, and we're all on the same journey. We're all helping each other to do this. So it's a supportive environment where, you're not going to be judged. There's no one telling you you're weird or like, crazy or on the spectrum, or it's like, oh no, oh great, you're just awakening. That's all that's happening. And so we speak a different language. As you'll see if you stick around for the we're actually translating the course into a different language, so that it becomes more understandable. So where are we? A bit of instead expect resistance and criticism, but pay no attention to it. So we've been that. So if you want to just read the last couple of paragraphs, then we'll go into the lesson.
Me? I'll do it.
Yeah.
In fact, you have a higher purpose in this world, precisely because so many people believe in limitations of the ego story, and the world needs miracle workers like you to shine the awareness of truth into that darkness and liberate them from their fear. Therefore, be glad that you have this mighty function in this world, and all your suffering, trials, and challenges are exactly what you need to find and fulfill it.
Good message there for you, I think. So all of the suffering, the trials, the challenges are exactly what you need to experience to find your higher purpose and fulfill it.
Isn't it funny how the sentence that we get given to say is usually the most important for us?
Yeah, that's how it works. The spirit gives you exactly what you need. So, and when you show up to these live sessions, it's just a field. You're opening yourself up to that field of transformation, and so within the field, the spirit can now work and bring you messages that you need to hear. And that's all just I'm just turning up. I've just created a forum for this, the Holy Spirit, the remembrance of oneness, as we call it, to arise for whoever chooses to join it. Because you can't not join these sessions and not have a profound impact. Okay, so that's a little teaching. So let's go into the lesson. When I'm healed, I'm healed, I'm not healed alone. So what we do is we just translate it. So I'm just going to write this in here. And
Can I just do a quick release statement before you?
Yes, do that, Sally. So do a release form to help us to get into it.
Do you want to mute, Sue, and then you can repeat it back? Just like an EAM style, repeat it back. I'm ready to release all resistance to this lesson, to this program. I let go of resistance to healing. I let go of the idea of sickness. I see no value in separation now. I release all perceived suffering. I let go of feeling apart or separate. I let go of all lies to the truth. I see all that is false. I let illusions dissolve and all fantasies of sickness disappear. And I let go of my perceptual problem. I release all this from my energy now, in all forms, on all levels, at all points in time. I'm ready to release all my resistance to this lesson, to this program, to healing, to the idea of sickness. I see no value in separation now. I release all perceived suffering. I let go of feeling apart or separate. I let go of all lies to the truth. I see all that is false, and I let illusions dissolve. All fantasies of sickness disappear, and I let go of my perceptual problem now. I release all this from my energy now, in all forms, on all levels, at all points in time. I welcome in unity and oneness. I am healed. Healing is freedom. I forgive and awaken. I experience the real world now, and I share my healing with the world. I welcome this into my awareness, in all forms, on all levels, at all points in time. I welcome in unity and oneness. Healing is freedom. I am healed. I forgive and awaken. I experience the real world now, and I share my healing with the world. I welcome this into my awareness, in all forms, on all levels, at all points in time. Take a deep breath. And so it is.
Thank you, Sally.
Okay.
Nice way to start. So we just take turns reading. 137. So if you kick it off, Sally, with paragraph 1 for us. When I'm healed, I'm not healed alone.
When I'm healed, I'm not healed alone. Today's idea remains the central thought on which salvation rests. For healing is the opposite of all the world's ideas, which dwell on sickness and on separate states. Sickness is a retreat from others and a shutting off from joining. It becomes a door that closes on the separate self and keeps it isolated and alone.
Okay, so any thoughts on that? We need to do a little translation, so let's just do that.
That is the thing, isn't it? When you're sick, you just feel like you're the only one that's sick and that everyone else is functional.
Yeah. So if you take the first sentence, today's idea remains the central thought on which salvation rests. What is
awakening? Today's idea remains the central thought on which awakening rests. Well, healing is the opposite of all the world's ideas which dwell on sickness and on separate states. Sickness is a retreat from others and a shutting off of joining. It becomes a door that closes on the separate self and keeps it isolated and alone.
Shutting off of joining. Can we say that in a better way? The retreat from others and the shutting off of joining. And how about a blocking? And
A resistance to joining.
Retreat, yeah, from others. I think a shutting off, I mean, what he's really meaning there is it's a block, isn't it? It's a resistance, but it's actually a blocking.
Okay.
A blocking of joining. So we just try and translate to make it a bit the translation a bit more meaningful and impactful and understandable. And then when we get into it, you see some of the terms like God and Holy Spirit, we translate those as well. So salvation becomes awakening, for instance. That's one of the ones we do. Blocking of joining becomes a door that closes on a separate self and keeps it isolated. Becomes a door that closes on a separate self. I think that's better. That keeps it isolated and alone. Okay, do you want to read it from the top? Let's make sure it makes sense. And
today's ideas remains the central thought on which awakening rests, for healing is the opposite of all the world's ideas that dwell on sickness and on separate states. Sickness is a retreat from others and a blocking of joining. It becomes a door that closes on a separate self that keeps it isolated and alone.
okay, I'm going to give a little summary of that.
Well, the picture that comes up in my mind is how, as a child, we used to be shut in the bedroom when we were ill. So when we had chicken pox, we'd be shut in the bedroom for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Kind of training to separate, isn't it? Like with COVID, you were in isolation when you were ill. I mean, It really emphasizes the whole cutting off, isn't it, and the separation.
Yeah, which is what he's highlighting here. So it becomes the mechanism of separation to play out, and that you start to believe in this because you're sick. Okay, so happy with that one. I'm going to go 137. Okay, so if you can read that paragraph, I just pasted in. Sue, sickness is isolation.
Sickness is isolation, for it seems to keep oneself apart from all the rest, suffer what the others do not feel. Gives the body final power to make the separation real, and keep the mind in solitary prison, split apart and held in pieces by a solid wall of thickened flesh, which it cannot surmount.
Okay, so any thoughts on that?
Well, I felt really uncomfortable when I read the thickened flesh.
Yeah, it's quite graphic, isn't it?
Yeah.
So this is what Yeshua does. He says to us, he gives the ego straight to us and says, this is what it is. And it's not comfortable to really look at it.
Okay.
And then the discomfort is so that it pushes some buttons so that you can shift and you can change. You can actually let go through this process.
This is isolation. Yes, that's what the other chapter said, what the other paragraph was saying. It seems to keep oneself apart from all the rest, to suffer what the others do not feel. Yeah, that makes sense. It gives the body final power to make the separation real and keep the mind in solitary prison. Yeah, split apart and held in pieces by a solid wall of thickened flesh. it cannot surmount. I can't relate to what that solid wall of sickened flesh is.
Mm-hmm. What's the body he's talking about?
Right, okay. Split apart and held in pieces by a solid wall of sickened flesh.
Hmm.
Okay,
So it's your body he's talking about.
okay.
Just very graphically. So he does this from time to time, gives us a very kind of graphic look at the ego. And it's like, oh, that's a bit shocking and not nice. But he's doing it because he wants us to awaken to the truth of what the ego is, that this is not a nice thought system, and this is not something you want at all. It's actually pretty shocking, pretty gruesome to have to be tied into a solid wall of sickened flesh that's ultimately going to die. And what kind of reality is that you've created for yourself?
Okay, so I've just understood the split apart and held in pieces. So it's the pieces that have been split apart. Okay.
So the mind seems to be fragmented because it seems to be in separate bodies. And if you think you're sick, or other people are sick, then this apparent separation, the split in the mind, is held in pieces in the form of the body by a solid wall of sickened flesh, which it cannot surmount. And this is the purpose of sickness, is to perpetuate this isolation.
Isolation. Separation.
Yeah. So he's just highlighting it for us. And this is what he does. He's saying, look, this is what's really going on here. You need to see it for what it is. And then you can let it go. Because when you really start understanding what the ego is doing and the evident insanity of it, and that it's not going to ever make you happy, then why would you continue to believe in it? Okay, so happy with number 2?
Okay.
Don't think that needs any translation, so the next one does. Moving swiftly on to number 3. Okay, so Sally, if you want to read number 3.
We on 136 or 137? 137.
137, yeah.
Okay. The world obeys the laws that sickness serves, but healing operates apart from them. It is impossible that anyone be healed alone. In sickness, must he be apart and separate. But healing is his own decision to be one again and to accept himself with all its parts intact and unassailed. In sickness does his self appear to be dismembered and without the unity that gives it life. But healing is accomplished as he sees the body as no power to attack the universal oneness of God's Son.
Okay, so universal oneness of God's Son is, get the translation out here. No, I'm not done there. Yeah, there we go. Attack the universal oneness of, so God's Son is, God we translate as pure formless awareness of perfect love. So universal oneness of, okay, so that becomes a bit cumbersome. Universal oneness of, because there's 2 ofs there. So we'll just make it the universal oneness of perfect loves. And then Son, Sally, is, you know what Son is?
Extension?
Yeah. So we're just retranslating some of the Christian terms into language that's maybe a bit more accessible and understandable. So you are perfect love's extension. That's what the Son of God means. You're an extension of this loving presence. this loving mind, and you are mind. You're not a body. So we just translate it so that maybe that phrase has more meaning. Instead of Son of God, perfect love's extension. And you'll find that as we do these translations, it tends to bring more of the experience into being. What was that experience? What does it feel like to be perfect love's extension, to be pure formless awareness of perfect love? What would that feel like? And so the word is a pointer into the experience, which gives you the experiential understanding of this course, which is what it's all about, rather than just intellectual understanding, just words and concepts and ideas. It's actually experiencing it for yourself. So that's one of the reasons why we do the translation. Okay, so let's have a look at it. Look at it from the top. Anything need to change here? The world obeys the laws that sickness serves, but healing operates apart from them. That's fine. Possible that anyone be healed alone. Okay, so that's the key idea. Today's lesson, that your healing will be propagated into the world to other people, because on a mind level we share one mind. There is really no separation. So you're healed, you essentially facilitate the healing of others. In sickness. And then also what we do is we change the tense of it, so the gender of it. So we'll make that she. She must be apart. So that it's we use them alternately. She must be apart and separate. But healing is her own decision to be one again. And to accept herself, capital self. So the capital self is the true self concept. It's your true self, it's your true identity, it's the Christ. Synonym for it is the Christ. Jesus, to accept herself with all its parts intact and unassailed. So healing is a decision to be one again. Healing is a decision for unity, to let go of separation, to believe in unity once more. And so in sickness, let me just change the way it's stated. So her sickness herself does appear. Sickness herself does appear to be dismembered. Without the unity that gives it life. So this is the appearance, but it's an appearance only. But healing is accomplished as she sees. The body has no power to attack the universal oneness of perfect love's extension. So the body cannot deny an attack. Denial is to attack the universal oneness of perfect love's extension. It's not possible. So the body is the result of an impossible idea made seemingly real, projected out of the mind to invent this construct that seems to deny, seems to attack the universal oneness of perfect love's extension. But actually this isn't true. The body has no power to attack what is beyond it. Perfect love exists perfectly forever in another domain, an eternal infinite domain. So it cannot be threatened by anything that happens in this world. So this body is of this world, therefore the body has no power to affect it at all. Okay, makes sense? Any questions on that? Okay. Can you give me a summary of that paragraph then?
Sickness, separated mind. Well, you mean me or you're challenging me?
No, I was actually talking to Sue.
Oh, go
Were you? Sally, go ahead.
You want to give it a go, Sue? What's being said there? just what comes to mind.
Well, I think what's throwing me a little bit is the whole we're not the body. So in sickness, herself does appear to be dismembered. And without the unity that it gives it life. Healing is accomplished as she sees the body has no power to attack the universe on its love's extension.
Makes sense.
Well,
See, I'm not a body. And so the body has no power to attack this oneness of my mind. That's true. Then I'm healed because I'm in my true self. I'm in my mind, not in my body.
Yeah, it's mind-boggling, isn't it?
it is, because the thing is, I've been on a journey of getting out of my mind and into my heart.
Mhm.
And now we're kind of going back to the mind and no body. So
Yeah, but your heart is not really physical, is it?
no, I get that. It's the
It's feeling. So actually, it's a deeper part of your mind. It's all mind. We use terms. We go heart because heart is the feeling aspect of mind. We feel more in the heart. It's more kind of feeling, state oriented, emotions, rather than just thoughts.
yes.
It's an aspect of your mind.
Okay. So the emotions and the feelings are all part of the mind.
Of course, who's experiencing? Everything's been experienced in awareness. We translate mind as awareness. It's awareness. You have an awareness without into which everything comes. Without that fundamental awareness, you would have no experience. You would have no life, as we call it, no existence. Right? So that fundamental awareness we call mind.
Yeah.
Often we translate it as awareness. The fundament, you have an awareness. That's all that's going on. So what comes into awareness? Oh, I'm feeling now. I'm feeling love. Or I'm feeling pain. Okay, that's coming into awareness. But we're talking the fundamental, the root of all of this is an awareness.
Awareness. Okay.
Without which you would have no existence. Without which you could have no experience. So the idea is that the body has been made up by a mind that's believed in a false idea. Right? It's believed in the idea of separation, makes up the body to perpetuate that idea of separation, and now creates something called sickness, which further perpetuates the idea of separation and teaches the mind that it is a body, that it is separate, it has its own identity, it can suffer, it can die. But all of that is the result of a belief system that your mind or awareness has chosen to believe in. So the body is a construct of the mind. How else did it come into being? What, do you think the body has some kind of independent reality? Scientific materialism says, oh, the body somehow exists. It just came into being through this big bang, and you are now a product. Your consciousness is a product of the body. That's the scientific materialist paradigm. So your consciousness is your brain. Without the brain, you would have no body. Without the brain, you would have no life, no consciousness. But that's totally false, because people have near-death experiences all the time where brain activity ceases. I was listening to a guy yesterday on the near-death website, doing a bit of research for the quote that I was writing, and he's saying, well, after about 20 seconds, when you flatline, he says all electrical activity in the brain stops. They can measure this with an ECG machine. So within 30 seconds of death, it's a flatline. There's no activity, and yet universally, people who have these near-death experiences report all of this experience. They're not dead, they're experiencing something. So where are they then if they're not in the brain?
Yeah,
The brain is
interesting.
dead.
Yeah.
Clearly,
Yeah.
there's a mind that's beyond the brain. There's an awareness that's beyond the brain. So the near-death experience breaks down the paradigm of, oh, we're a body, and our consciousness is our consciousness is a product of our brains. And when our brains die, then our consciousness ceases to exist. That is a ridiculous paradigm, and it does not explain how the body came into existence. So how does well then what created the body then? Why do we have bodies? Why do we have a world? It doesn't really explain that. There's a huge black hole, and they can't explain it, because you have to go to the level of mind to explain it. Say, well, it makes sense if the mind is a construct of the body. The mind had a false idea of separation. It believed in that. Then it made up the body to project that belief outwards. We literally went out of our minds into a body and into an external world. Well, that makes sense. The mind is behind all of this. Well, if the mind is behind all of this, if I can go back into my mind, that's the way out of the dream. So that's what we're doing. We're reversing the process. Instead of enslaving ourselves into body awareness and thinking we're a body, we're reversing it, undoing it, and saying, no, I'm not a body, I'm a mind. Because that's the truth of our reality. Beyond the body. When you die, you're not a body anymore, are you? But you still have an experience that continues. So that then proves the fact that people can have near-death experiences, have come back and talked about them, means they are not a body.
So am I wrong in thinking that your body communicates with you? That's not, because I always think
no independent consciousness. Your body is a projection of your mind.
Projection. So when there's something going on in your body, it's a projection of your mind. It's not your body communicating with you.
Yeah, it's the mind communicating with you. The mind
By
the
projection.
body, yes, the mind. It's all mind. The body has no independent life or will. People say, oh, the body this and the body that. The body has no mind, right? The body is only given seeming life and intention and consciousness by the mind. You see, so now your mind comes into. We've done this crazy thing of putting our minds into our body, our awareness into our bodies, and then giving the body some kind of independent reality and say, oh, well, my body's telling me this, my body's speaking to me. No, your mind is speaking to you all the time, but it's doing it through the body.
Yeah. Okay.
That makes sense.
That's okay. It's all right with me. Quite mind blowing, isn't it?
It's a bit of a, yeah, literally, it's actually body blowing. It's not mind blowing. But it's what you're doing is you're blowing the concept, the false concept that you are a body out of your mind.
So the mind is communicating with me through my body.
Yeah. So if you see the body as a useful instrument for communication, and you can get feedback from the mind, okay, so the body's sick. What's that telling me about my mind? Okay, my mind must be in a state of sickness, of dis-ease in order to manifest the sickness. That can be very useful because it's giving you a message that you can then go, okay, well, this is useful for healing. I can use the body condition to heal the mind. Western allopathic medicine says, no, just focus on the body and heal the body because you're not a mind. It denies the truth that you're a mind.
Yeah.
Actually, the only reason you're sick is because of the mind. So primarily healing needs to happen in the mind and not in the body. And the body will follow suit. As we see, with profound miraculous experiences like Anita Moorjani had, the body will heal when the mind heals. That's how it works.
Okay. Thank you.
So it is a bit mind-blowing, but that's kind of what we have to do to get out of the belief that you're a body, which enslaves you into being a body and into sickness and into death. You have to challenge that paradigm. Say, no, you're not a body. And so if you're not a body, you can't really be separate. How can you be sick? Sickness is a ridiculous idea based on a false belief that you're a body. Well, if that's not true, then sickness can't be true, can it?
No. I can follow that process. Sickness is just what your mind's creating.
Yeah. It's part of the deeper construct of believing you're a body, which is the delusion that we're all under. You couldn't have come here and be human unless you believe that you're a body. That's why we incarnate. We believe we're a body. That belief leads us to incarnate, come into a body, attach our mind to a body. And that's just the reincarnation. It's the stubborn belief that you're a body and not a mind. You don't want to believe that you're pure mind, that you're pure formless awareness, and that you really don't need a body. So you continue to believe you're a body. Well, that belief brings you back into the body, another body. But how can your identity be the body if the body changes all the time and the body will ultimately die? How can that be your true identity then? It's clearly very temporary. So the evidence is overwhelming to prove to us that we're not a body. There's so much evidence for that, if you want to see it. Okay, so happy with that?
Okay.
So going to number 4. You can read number 4 for us, Sally, kindly. It would be great.
Sickness would prove that lies must be the truth, but healing demonstrates that truth is true. Separation sickness would impose, has never really happened. To be healed is merely to accept what always was the simple truth and always will remain exactly as it has forever been. Yet eyes accustomed to illusions must be shown that what they look upon is false. So healing, never needed by the truth, must demonstrate that sickness is not real.
Yeah, so any thoughts on that?
It was hard to read.
Maybe we can do a bit of translation, make it a bit easier. Let's see if we can improve it. Sickness would prove that lies must be the truth. Sickness would prove. So sickness attempts to prove. Sickness is an attempt.
Yeah.
Sickness is an attempt to prove that lies must be the truth. Okay, so the body is true, and you're not mind, you're body. That's what sickness is trying to prove. The healing demonstrates that truth is true. Okay, pretty simple. That's what healing is. True, only the truth is true, and nothing else is true. That's the caveat. You can't have the truth is true and then something else is true as well. So the truth is true and nothing else is true. Lies cannot be true as well as truth. That's simple logic that the Course is asking us to follow. The separation sickness would impose. So separation sickness wants to impose. Has never really happened. Okay, so there's the way out. The separation's never really happened. The sickness hasn't really happened. The body hasn't really happened. This is the complete undoing of the belief in separation, which is all the ego is. It never really happened. None of it's true. And that's the radical forgiveness that Yeshua is asking us to practice. And honestly, that's the only way out. As long as you make the illusion real, it's real for you. And you will continue to believe in it. So he's asking us to deny it entirely. Because that denial denies the idea of separation, ultimately. So if you look at this diagram, descent into hell, this is how it all started. It started with a thought of separation. One tiny mad idea of separation, believed in. We wanted it. We desired it. We believed in it. Then we make all of this real. We make a separate self real, a separate consciousness, which is just the belief in separation. We make an individual self, individuality. We make guilt real because we think we've already pulled this off and we already have destroyed pure formless awareness or God or love. And so we must be guilty for this imagined sin. And then we have fear of punishment because we've done this terrible thing. So now a fearful, wrathful, vengeful God is going to punish us. And then this is all too overwhelming for the mind, so it projects it all out into an illusion and literally goes out of its mind and creates a physical universe. That's the Big Bang. And then we incarnate into multiple forms to express our separation in the Big Bang, and we accuse and blame and attack all these other forms to project our guilt onto them because we don't want to accept that we've done it. And all of that increased guilt, fear, attack, and blame create a conception, a self-concept of being a helpless, innovative little life or a victim of an unfair, cruel world that's outside of us that's doing it to us. And all of that came from one tiny mad idea. Wow. Okay. But can you see, if you understand that the entire system came from one tiny mad idea of separation, the way out of the entire madness, the whole madness, is to simply deny the thought of separation. You see it? That's what Yeshua is asking us to do. He's saying just don't believe in it in any way, shape, or form. However it shows up in your dream. A body that's apparently sick, well, that's just another effect of separation, which never really happened. So deny it really happened by denying that the body is sick. And then you're healing your mind, and then you're finding your way back to perfect oneness, which is your true self, your true identity, and letting go of the dream. So what he's saying is really, really simple. It's a very, very simple course. But to do it requires a lot of vigilance because these beliefs seem to be real and they seem to be coming at you all the time in the projections. So you have to just maintain your vigilance and understand, okay, I'm in a dream here, and the dream is caused by one tiny mad idea of separation. I need to just deny that idea as it shows up. Whenever I'm tempted to believe in that idea in any way, shape, or form, so sickness is another temptation to believe in the idea of separation, I need to just deny it. And that's my way out of the dream. That's my way back to the truth. Does that make sense? That's what radical forgiveness means. I deny the thoughts of separation whenever, however it shows up in my dream. And it's going to show up all the time because we've invented an entire reality based on it. This external universe, external world and universe, is a projection of the idea of separation. But as he says here, it never really happened. So to be healed is just to accept the simple truth that it never really happened.
Always makes me laugh when you say it's very simple.
It is.
It's like our egos are like going mad in our heads.
Yeah. But the complexity is only the ego's defense against the truth, or the simplicity of the truth. It's so simple. There's only pure formless awareness of perfect love. There's only this. This is all that exists. There's nothing else. How simple is that? Just one awareness, one pure formless awareness that is eternal, that exists forever, that is you, that is everyone, then that's all. I mean, you can't get simpler than that. Oneness is completely simple. The ego's complexity is just a smokescreen to deny the separation, to deny the oneness and believe in separation instead. And so our practice is simply to return our minds to the simplicity of the truth. And remind ourselves, look, only this is true, only this is real. Right now, if that's true eternally, then it's true right now. So whatever I'm misperceiving, if I'm thinking the sickness is real, I'm believing in the separation, I'm feeling like the victim, none of this is true. Right now, it's not true. So therein lies the correction. Right now, in the holy instant, as he calls it, in the now, I can collapse my belief in separation. I can let it go, and I can once again experience this in my awareness right now. And then I'm healed.
So why are we playing this out then?
Why are we playing out the dream?
Why are we here? Why?
Because you had an idea of separation that you wanted.
Okay. And
We had a
this
tiny
is
mad
the
idea
result.
that occurred to us, and we went, "Oh, that's a good idea. That sounds interesting. I've been one for all eternity. Maybe this offers me something else, something more interesting,
And why
something
do we
better."
keep coming back? Why do we keep coming back then?
Because we got stuck in a dysfunctional thought system that we think is now real. The ego's convinced us that the belief in separation is true and oneness is not.
So do we keep this ego with us when we go, when we leave our body? Because
Well, if you haven't corrected your mind, then yes. If you still
right,
believe in separation and you leave
right.
the body, then the belief maintains in your mind. That's called karma. You now have the belief in separation, the belief you're a separate self, the belief in all of the stuff still going on in your mind because you haven't let it go. And then you just bypass this. You don't go back to God, love, oneness, pure formless awareness. You still believe in separation. So
So that's our soul master as well, must it?
so this is another look at this, another take on it. You go through this whole timeline, all of these various things on your timeline. If
Yeah.
you keep believing in the ego's interpretation of the timeline, the red arrows, the ego's psychological and emotional attachment to the timeline and to this world and to your life in this world, and you haven't ever gone to the spirit and gone, no, I'm letting this go and I'm correcting it, and going into pure formless awareness, love, knowledge, eternity, whatever you want to call this. If you haven't done that in your life, how can you suddenly expect it to do it once you've laid the body aside? Not possible. You have to do it while you're here, over and over and over again, to correct your mind, to teach your mind, I'm not a body. There's really nothing to be scared of. When I finally lay the body aside, I'm going back into pure formless awareness of perfect love. I'm going into my true nature, my true state of mind beyond the body that doesn't need a body. And if you've really practiced well and you've taught yourself that while you're in the apparent body, then at death, your mind simply goes back to pure formless awareness, and you remain in that. You're then in heaven forever. Eternity is yours, and there's no need to come back into a body. You don't need to be reborn in a body and do this whole thing again. Well, why would you do that when you can have pure formless awareness of perfect love? Why would you possibly want to come into a body and experience all of the difficulties, the pain, the suffering, the sickness, the death? Why would you want that when you could have pure formless awareness of perfect love forever? And Yeshua is saying to us, well, there's no good reason. There's no good reason for this body and this world and your life to exist. It's a denial of the truth. And the only reason you're here is to wake up to the truth. The only reason you're here is to correct your mind so that ultimately when you finally die, you lay the body aside, your mind is healed, and you go back into this state of love, pure formless awareness, knowledge, whatever you want to call it, and you're just there eternally. There's nothing else to know. There's nothing else you want. Because you recognize the insanity of the dream of separation, that it's given you nothing, that it's just a delusion. And that you're free in this. This is where your freedom lies. This is your free will. This is your reality. This is what you choose. This is what you want. But you need to correct your mind while you're apparently in the dream world of the separate self, you see. Because where else is the correction going to happen?
I thought it was when you passed over.
Hmm?
And then you chose, I thought it was when you passed over and then you just chose to come back. I suppose it doesn't really make sense, does it?
You choose to come back because you still have a belief
Yeah.
in separation, and that belief hasn't been healed. So Yeshua is saying to us, well, you've got one problem here. And that problem is the belief in separation. So I'm going to give you a practice to heal that belief, to let go of that belief in separation as it shows up in your apparent dream. And that process is called forgiveness or letting go. Because as I let go of all of my ego's psychological and emotional attachment to whatever showing up in my dream, and I go back into pure formless awareness, I'm teaching my mind that I am pure formless awareness, that this is always there, this is the eternal truth, and this is the lie. Whatever's happening on the timeline and the ego's psychological and emotional attachment to it is just a false, and it's a lie. And I don't have to believe in it. So that's the approach. And then he's just giving us different lessons, different ways of looking at it day by day to unwind our mind. But it's one simple process. You always are taking your mind from its mental and psychological state of attachment into pure formless awareness through this process of letting go of the ego's psychological emotional attachment. So that's just the thoughts and the feelings. What's psychological emotional attachment? It's a thought and it's a feeling. That's all it is. That is negative. That's not happy. That's not nice. And we know that. It's not difficult to know that because it doesn't feel good. So when you say go into your heart, okay, go into the feeling aspect of it and feel it. What does the thought feel like? Oh, it doesn't feel good. It feels contracted, constricted, limiting. Okay, do you want to keep this, or can you let this go? And so as you do the letting go, you're doing extraordinary things on a profound level. You're healing your mind. You're going back to pure formless awareness of perfect love. You're collapsing the dream of time and space. Ultimately, that dream will disappear for you. That's what you're doing simply by this practice of letting go of the whatever the ego is presenting. So it's really, really simple. It's a very, very simple teaching. It's a very simple idea. He's giving you a simple technique, and you just have to apply it rigorously with discipline, no matter what the ego is throwing at you. The complexity is only a smokescreen to deny the simplicity of the truth and of the process that you need to undertake to heal. It's a very, very simple process. It's not rocket science at all.
That's so funny every time you say that. It's so simple. Everybody on the call is like, oh my God.
No, it's only complex because you believe in separation. That's why it's complex.
Yeah, I agree. It is complex. It is.
Unwind the belief in, if there was no separation in your mind, it would be really simple. It'd just be pure formless awareness of perfect love. That's the only experience you'd have, and there's no complexity in that. It's one awareness, one simple awareness for all eternity. Well, what's complicated about that?
So if I get the aha, oh, we're not separate, that's job done.
Well, yeah, it's an opening, but then the ego is a sticky system. It's been around a long time. 14 billion years is a fair amount of time, and who knows how many lifetimes you've had, believing in this idea.
So many.
It's got a deep hold in your mind. You believe in the idea, and you've believed so much in the idea that you've now invented an entire world that's seemingly outside of your mind, and a body to live in, and an alternate reality that now makes the idea real. That's how deep your belief in the idea is. So yes, you're saying to us, okay, this is going to take a bit of undoing.
Yeah, okay.
This is going to take some mind training and some practice to undo this deep-seated idea. And he's giving us a course to help us to do that. Progressively and systematically undo this idea that we believe in.
Yeah.
You start by questioning it. And it does feel a bit like, whoa, like, can I get my head around all of this to start with? Well, no, you won't do it all in one day. But if you just do it day by day, it's the insights start to happen, the awakening starts to happen, and you do find, yeah, I'm actually getting this. Compared with, say, 2 months ago, Sally, you would say, wow, I've got so much more. I've learned so much more in that 2 months. And so you're in this process of systematically and progressively awakening from the nightmare of separation. And that's going to continue for the rest of your life, because that's the only purpose here. That's what else are you going to do with your apparent life here but awaken. The alternative is to stay asleep and suffer in the dream. Well, it's not really much of a choice, actually. So do you prefer, to go back to the hero's journey, do you prefer the discomfort of awakening, because it isn't comfortable, or the continuous hopeless pain and suffering of the ego, being stuck in a thought system that's going nowhere. And,
Yeah, let's shift that.
And that can't help you. This, in the known world, in the ego's world, there's no help, there's no salvation. It's just suffering and death. Well, that's pretty hopeless. So choose the discomfort of awakening over the continuous pain and suffering that the ego is going to cause you. It's a much better choice. And the discomfort doesn't last. You can go through it into really deep states of peace and love and joy, which the ego can't take you there at all. Okay, so happy with number 4.
Yeah.
What is he saying there?
Who are you asking?
Anyone?
Well, sickness is an attempt to prove that lie is the truth, and sickness is separation, separated mind. Healed is to be one, to be in oneness, and yeah, the truth denies all sickness. It just can't exist in that mindset.
So eyes accustomed to illusion.
Talking about the illusion. Yeah.
What they look upon is false, right? So this is the undoing. We must be shown what we look upon is false. So the body's eyes, what the body's eyes look upon is false. So healing never needed by the truth must demonstrate that sickness is not real. So healing demonstrates that all of this is false. And healing and understanding that the entire construct of separation is false are one and the same. Healing is that awareness, is that awakening to the truth that this is false. And then the mind is healed when you fully get that. But it's a process. The healing is a process. It doesn't happen overnight. So slowly, and as you study these profound lessons, you slowly start to accept it. So eventually, it's not a belief anymore. It's a knowing. Like, I know this is true. You can tell by the way I'm speaking. I know this is true. It's absolutely the truth. And there's nothing that anyone can say or do that can shake that. It's a knowing. Of course it's true. I know it so deeply. I've experienced it. And so it's bringing you out of the perceptual realm of belief into the knowledge. That's why it's called knowledge, into the knowing. Yeah, you know that this is true. And that's the awakened state. When you know it's true, you absolutely know it's true, and you're able to maintain that knowledge in the face of all of the ego's lies, because it continues to spin illusions in the dream world, then you're awakened, and your job is done. Well, you're going to stay here. You're going to still maybe teach it and help others, but your perception is healed, and you're rooted in your true self. Okay, so moving swiftly on to number 5. Healing might thus be called a counter dream.
All right. Do you want me to read it?
Yeah.
Okay. Healing might thus be called a counter dream, which cancels out the dream of sickness in the name of truth, not in truth itself. Just as forgiveness overlooks all sins that were never accomplished, healing but removes illusions that have not occurred. Just as the real world will arise to take place of what has never been at all, healing but offers the restitution for imagined states and false ideas which dreams embroider into pictures of the truth.
Okay, so maybe a bit of translation there. Can we improve that at all?
So is that saying healing is part of the illusion?
Yeah, because
Okay.
in truth, there's no need for healing. Healing
Okay.
implies that there's a condition other than truth that has to be undone.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it's a counter dream, which cancels out the dream of sickness in the name of truth, but not in truth itself. So forgiveness, healing, it's a process of awakening from a dream which was never real. But you're awakening out of the dream to the truth. So healing might thus be called a counter dream. So let's change that. So therefore, healing might be called a counter dream, which cancels out the dream of sickness in the name of truth, but not in truth itself. Because in truth itself, there's no need to cancel out sickness. It doesn't exist in truth. So just as forgiveness, so forgiveness we translate as letting go. So just as letting go overlooks all sins that were never accomplished, so you never sinned. You could never accomplish sin. That were never that letting go overlooks all sins that were never committed. You never committed the sin. Healing but removes illusions that have not occurred. So just removes.
If, for instance, Sue's mum has been ill all her life,
Yeah.
is that Sue's guilt of separation projected on her mum? Is it also her mum's guilt? Well, she's all one.
Yeah, so it's all part of a belief system of separation. Person who's believing that they're sick has an identity that's attached to the body, often a victim identity, which they're believing is true, and so the sickness serves the victim identity. If you're perceiving that and you make that real, then the ego has got the belief in separation has got you as well, because it's making its thought system real through your perception of the other person as sick. So it's just aspects of this really sick thought system, and the healing is always the same. Just deny it. None of it's true. Sickness isn't true. The person can't really be sick, and neither can you. And therein lies the healing, which is always on the mind level. It's the correction of the belief. Healing is the correction of the belief in separation. That's all it is. So letting go of the belief in separation. However that plays out in many, many different ways, because the belief in separation has many facets and many aspects and causes many problems. So healing in any instance is just the letting go of the belief in separation, and then the effects of that will seem to be different. You might get a different kind of healing, a different effect depending on what the problem was, but in the end it's all the same process. You're removing the illusion of separation that has not occurred. Because the idea of separation, to go back to this, can you see the logic of this? The idea of separation never happened. If it never happened, if it never occurred, then none of this can be real. The guilt, the sin, the everything you imagine you've done in the dream world cannot be real if the idea that sponsored the whole system isn't real. That's why it's a really, really simple mind training technique to undo the entire illusion. Okay, so where are we? Healing just removes illusions that have not occurred. Healing removes only illusions that have not occurred. the real world will arise to take place of what has never been at all. Healing but offers restitution for imagined states. Healing offers only restitution for imagined states and false ideas, which dreams embroider into pictures of the truth. And then make that into that. Okay, do you want to read it from the top, Sue?
All right. Therefore, healing might be called a counter dream, which cancels out the dream of sickness in the name of truth, but not in truth itself. Just as letting go overlooks all sins that were never committed, healing removes only illusions that have not occurred. Just as the real world will arise to take the place of what has never been at all, healing offers only restitution for imagined states and false ideas that dreams embroider into the pictures of the truth.
Okay, makes sense. Can you give me a little summary of that? Give us a little summary of that.
Or that healing is a delusion. In the same way, the sickness is an illusion.
Well, healing
Removes-
Healing removes the illusions. So healing is the process of coming out of the delusion of form and believing in separation, and it just removes the belief in separation. Removes only illusions that have not occurred. And so the real world is the world reinterpreted by the Holy Spirit. So you are letting go of all of the illusions in your mind, and then you see only the real world. So you still have this physical senses going on if you're in the body, but you see deeper. You see the underlying truth, the pure formless awareness of perfect love that actually underlies everything, and you perceive that very clearly. And that's what arises to take the place of what has never been at all. Wow. So it has never been at all. Separation never happened. And that is a bit of a mind blow. You go, wow, I'm sitting here apparently in a body talking, and none of this really happened. It'll take your mind a while to process. But you go, it takes you beyond the intellect. Your intellect and your rational mind can't compute this.
I mean, the thing
part
is,
of your mind that can.
I know I've been aware of this, but not like in this much detail, and it still blows my mind. Absolutely. Anyway, yeah.
This course is the process of having your mind systematically blown.
Yeah.
Progressively, systematically, in a disciplined way, you're blowing your own mind day by day. Because what you're really blowing away is the ego mind, which is just a belief in separation. Your true mind is absolutely fine. Your true awareness is not changed at all. You've just got to blow away all of the illusions that you've believed in.
Okay.
All right. Living swiftly on, simple.
Blimey, Sally. What is going on?
Right? What has she dumped you in? Eh?
I know.
I suggested it a while ago, but Sue didn't take me up on the offer.
I just went like, bah.
Nah, too much. Yeah. Well, here you are. So where you go from here is up to you, as Neo said. It's up to you.
A lot of processing needs to happen here.
There's a door opening if you wanted to. So.
I know.
All right. So number 6. Sally, if you want to read that, and let's translate it as we go, shall we?
Okay. Yet think not healing is unworthy of your function here. Or Antichrist. Oh, Oh, is there a translation for Antichrist? Not your true self? Is Antichrist not your true self?
Yeah, I do not think. I think this is the first time we've come across this actually, because Christ is the one self. So Antichrist. I do not think healing is unworthy of functioning. For Antichrist, for
Anti oneself. That doesn't quite flow. Anti-self.
how about for the anti-self, or we could say the alternative self. Just take away the the form of an anti-self. Let's keep it for the anti-self.
Yeah.
We'll just see how that sits. We'll read it and see if it works. Becomes more powerful than
Your true self. The anti-self becomes more powerful than their true self to those who dream the world is real. The body seems to be more solid and more stable than the mind, and love becomes a dream, while fear remains the one reality that can be seen and justified and fully understood.
So this is what happens when you invert the truth. When you want to believe in this anti-self, the little self, then you must deny love, and fear becomes the one reality. Can be seen and justified and fully understood. So it's a construct. Once you're in this dream, you believe in separation. The consequences all seem to be real. And if you believe in it, then fear becomes the one reality that seems to be real, it seems to be seen, and justified and fully understood. Can be, we'll change that to perceived. But it's just a perceptual problem. You have a perceptual problem based on a false belief. That's all that's going on in this world. And that false belief, which is the source of the perceptual problem and all problems, can be undone. You can let it go. As he's saying, your function here is healing. So if you don't heal, then this other self, the anti-self, becomes more powerful than their true self to those who dream the world is real. So do we want to keep anti-self, or should we change it to like the false self?
Ego self?
I think the false self, maybe.
Right?
The false self becomes more powerful. The false self than their true self to those who dream the world is real. So that's what we've done. The false self concept has taken the place of our true self, and this has become more powerful and seemingly capable of real effects, seemingly capable of causing us endless pain and suffering and misery and ultimately killing us because we've chosen to believe in it. Well, Yeshua's saying you don't have to continue believing in it. You can let that belief go and heal your mind. And if you do believe in the anti-self, love becomes a dream, and fear remains the one reality that can be perceived and fully justified. Because you have to deny the truth, and you have to accept fear as its replacement then. Okay?
Yeah.
Happy with that?
Yeah.
Number 7. Okay, just as forgiveness shines away the truth. Sue, do you want to read that? And let's
Okay,
go.
Okay, just as forgiveness shines away all sin, and the real world will occupy the place of what you made, so healing must replace the fantasies of sickness which you hold before the simple truth.
So
When
forgiveness, just pause. Forgiveness, do you remember what that is? In our translated language?
letting go.
Ah,
Didn't think you'd remember, so I thought I'd say it.
I didn't remember.
Yeah, it takes a bit of practice. So we'll tell you that. So letting go shines away all sin in the real world. Will occupy the place of what you made. So this real world, the perception of the real world. So is the world reinterpreted? So the idea behind this, it's a quantum idea. You change your mind, you change your reality. See, because the world is in your perception. You change your mind, change your perception, the world's changed for you. Nothing has to happen, change on the level of form, just a change of perception. What's going on?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I understand that.
There's a really good YouTube one for the perceptual problem, isn't there? John, you sent out. I'll see if I can find it and send it to Sue.
David Hoffmeister, yeah.
Okay. Well, I get the perception thing, so that's okay.
But you understand, perception is based on the false belief, based on a belief in separation. So we couldn't be perceiving, apparently having from a separate self and a separate body and a separate world. We couldn't be perceiving any of that unless we believed in the idea of separation. The perceptual problem comes from the belief in separation.
Okay.
Get that?
Okay. Okay.
Time and space and the body and perception came about because you believed in separation. It's all part of the construct.
Yes. So yes, I understand that. So now my thoughts are, where does your perception come from? Where do you, what is it that you should be perceiving? Just that with oneness, isn't it? Yeah.
The real world is the world reinterpreted. So you still have your physical senses, eyes and ears, and so all of these sensory perceptions still come in. That doesn't stop, but you have reinterpreted it in your mind. So you no longer see fear, you no longer experience fear, you no longer get angry, you no longer get irritated. These triggers of your sense perceptions can no longer perpetuate the belief in separation in your mind. You stay rooted in the underlying awareness. You recognize that there's underlying the entire dream world lies this true awareness, the pure formless awareness of perfect love. And you remain rooted in that no matter what. Your awareness is that awareness. So the enlightened state is simply to maintain that awareness, to stay in that awareness. No
right.
What.
So it's like a practice, isn't it? Practice to stay in that vibration, you call it? Yeah.
Yeah, a state of mind. It's a state of mind. And you can practice. The more you do spiritual practices, the more you do letting go, the more you meditate, the more you're establishing yourself in this awareness and the perception of the real world, a world that is healed, a world that no longer has the power to upset you. That there's really no negative thoughts and emotions anymore going on. That's the real world. So the real world will occupy the place of what you made. So maybe we could say the perception of the real world will take the place of what you made. So it's just your perception. One set of perceptions based on a thought system is being replaced by another. And so your perception changes, your reality changes, because reality is perceptual in this world. We have a perception of something outside of ourselves. It's not ultimately true. but in the perceived world, it seems to be true. So you just change your perception. So
Okay.
healing must replace the fantasies of sickness which you hold before the simple truth. So which you use to deny the simple truth. Because that's what we're doing. We're using our fantasies of sickness. It's an illusion. It's not true. To deny the simple truth of oneness, love. So when sickness has been perceived to disappear, in spite of all the laws that hold it cannot but be real. So in spite of all the laws that hold that it is real, I'll just make it simpler. Then questions have been answered. And the laws can no longer be cherished or obeyed. And what I'm going to do here, I'm going to make this personalized. It's changing the sense of it, but I think it's more powerful. Started doing this yesterday with Aina. So when you have perceived sickness to disappear, when you have perceived that sickness disappears, in spite of all the laws that hold it as real, then your questions have been answered. And you can no longer, so we make it active rather than passive case, passive sense. And you can no longer cherish or obey the laws. Okay, so you want to read it from the top, make sure it makes sense.
Just as letting go shines away all sin, and the perception of the real world will take the place of what you made. So healing must replace the fantasies of sickness, which you use to deny the simple truth. When you have perceived that sickness disappears, in spite of all the laws that hold it is real, then your questions have been answered, and you can no longer cherish or obey the laws.
Okay, makes sense. Give a little summary of that.
All perceptions of the real world will take place. So letting go. Let's go of the sin, and the perception of the real world will take the place of what you make. So how you perceive it, that's what will show in the world. So healing must replace the fantasies of sickness, which you use to deny the simple truth. So your sickness are stopping you see what's really happening. When you have perceived that sickness disappear, when you have perceived that sickness disappears in spite of all the laws that hold. This is real. And your questions have been answered. I don't get that one. And you can no longer cherish or obey the laws.
So you see sickness disappear in spite of all the laws that hold it as real. So
Yeah.
in this world, the laws seem to say, well, sickness is real, the
yeah.
body is real.
Got
And
it.
in your perception, you go, nah, you know, that's not true. I don't believe that anymore.
Yeah.
Then your questions have been answered, and you can no
Then you know
longer
it.
obey the laws because you go,
Real.
well, the laws were all false,
Yeah.
and none of them are true, and my mind is freed from the belief in them.
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
well done. Yeah, so just a different language, and there's some quite mind-blowing concepts in here, so it's all good.
It's the concept. Honestly, so yeah.
You'd like to go to sleep, but you're doing well.
Is your head exploding around now?
Oh, for sure. I can feel resistance starting to kick in because I am feeling tired now. I think it's almost a bit of, it's not information overload so much, it's what the information is as overload.
Yeah, well, that's the resistance. So one of the ego's defenses is to get tired. Well, I'm too tired to take this in because it doesn't want you to take it in because the information is knowledge. It's gonna undo the ego. So it's one of its best defenses is simply, well, just make you tired, and so you can't take it in. So it can never come in there. Okay. Number 8, we're nearly there. Actually, it's a 12 paragraph one, so we're getting there. We'll do a meditation just now. Healing is freedom.
Healing is freedom, for it demonstrates that dreams will not prevail against the truth. Healing is shared, and by this attribute, it proves that laws, unlike the ones which hold that sickness is inevitable, are more potent than their sickly opposites. Healing is strength, for by its gentle hand is weakness overcome, and minds that were walled off with a body free to join with other minds to be forever strong.
Okay, so need any translation? Healing is freedom, that's okay. Dreams will not prevail against the truth. Healing is shared. Proves that laws, unlike the ones which hold that sickness is inevitable, are more potent than their sickly opposites. So you understand that, what he's saying there?
Yeah, it says it in a difficult way.
Now, maybe we can say it better. By this attribute, could use a comma, proves that laws, unlike the ones which hold that sickness is inevitable, are more potent than their sickly opposites. So that's part of the sentence, and then it goes into that. So these laws that are unlike, maybe laws that are unlike the ones which hold that sickness is inevitable and are more potent and are unlike, that are completely unlike, they're completely opposite to the ones that hold sickness is inevitable, are more potent than their sickly opposites, that are laws that are opposite ones which hold that sickness is inevitable, are more potent than their sickly opposites. Does that make a bit more sense now?
A little bit, yeah. Still seems a bit difficult. But
Opposite to the ones which hold that sickness is inevitable. So laws that are opposite to the laws of sickness seem to make sickness inevitable.
Mm. Healing is freedom, for it demonstrates that dreams will not prevail against the truth. Healing is shared, and by this attribute, it proves that laws that are opposite to the laws of sickness, that seem to make sickness inevitable, are more potent than their sickly opposites. Still a bit of a mouthful, isn't it?
It's because he's done this, proves that laws, and then you've got this whole thing in the middle. Laws are opposite to the laws of sickness that seem to make sickness inevitable, are more potent than their sickly opposites. Just leave it as it is, or try and reconfigure it into. The difference is actually, I don't want to change the, make it into another sentence or anything, because then you break the ordering of the numbers. So kind of confined to what we can do in the same sentence.
Yeah. But the idea is to kind of twist our thinking a bit, isn't it? So the idea is to make an adjustment that can't really be made, in a way, you know, rewiring the brain, aren't you? So
okay, so shall we leave it?
It is what it is, really, isn't
leave
it?
Leave it as it is. Healing is strength, for by its gentle hand, his weakness overcome. Minds that were walled off within a body, free to join with other minds, to be forever strong. So healing unites us, helps us let go of the body, let go of the sense of isolation, separation that the body implies, and we are now free to join with other minds, to be forever strong. And be forever strong. Okay, happy with that? You want to give a little summary of that?
Healing is freedom. Healing is shared. It's stronger. It's deliberately taking it off screen to see if I can remember it. All the good stuff when you're in the oneness, and all the good stuff when you're in the sickness.
Yeah. So healing is just the unification of the mind, saying I'm not separate, I'm one, and actually I share awareness. My fundamental awareness is not different from your awareness, is not different from anyone or anything's awareness. Right? That awareness, pure formless awareness of perfect love, we call it. That awareness, that foundational awareness is the truth, and it's true for everyone all the time. So in that awareness, I'm now joined with other minds, because I recognize that there's only one awareness. That, holding to that state of mind in the world of illusion that we've spun, is enlightenment. You stay in that awareness that there's only one awareness here. There's nothing else really going on. Okay, so number 9, healing, forgiveness. Sue, if you want to read that. Sue, healing, forgiveness, and the glad exchange.
Healing, forgiveness, and the glad exchange of all the world of sorrow for a world where sadness cannot enter are the means by which the Holy Spirit urges you to follow him. His gentle...
Okay, so we'll translate as we go.
Okay.
Healing,
healing, letting go, and glad exchange.
The Holy Spirit, you won't know that, so maybe Sue can help you out.
What's the Holy Spirit?
Remembrance of oneness.
Remembrance of oneness.
So it's your own. It's not some external force. It's your own remembrance or memory.
Yeah, I like that.
Of the state of oneness, the idea of oneness, the state of oneness, that then urges you to follow it. It's just a memory in your own mind of a state which you were once in. We all have experienced pure formless awareness of perfect love. It's our true nature, but we departed from it a long time ago. But that memory remains in our mind, and that memory Yeshua calls the Holy Spirit, because that memory will awaken you to the full experience of it. You see, so the remembrance of oneness awakens you to, brings the experience of pure formless awareness of perfect love into your mind, and so the Holy Spirit leads you to God. So that's that's why we reinterpret the language, because many people, even committed Christians who've been Christian for a long time, they don't really understand what it means. What does the Holy Spirit mean? Father, Son, Holy Ghost, Holy Spirit, what does that mean? How do they interact? It becomes conceptual. It's just a concept in the mind. But actually, these are pointers to aspects of the mind that are really helpful in unifying the mind and healing the mind. Okay, so
His gentle lessons teach how easily salvation can be yours.
Do you remember what salvation is? No?
No?
Awakening.
How easily awakening. Okay. How easily awakening can be yours. How little practice you need undertake to let. Oh, how little practice you need undertake to let his laws replace the ones you made to hold yourself a prisoner to death. His life becomes your own as you extend the little help he asks in freeing you from everything that ever caused you pain.
Okay. Let's just translate that. So he becomes it. So what we're also doing is removing the male gender, because it's ridiculous that the Holy Spirit, which is not masculine or feminine, should be called a him. That's not true at all. So it's an it, it's a presence, it's a memory, or it's a remembrance of oneness in your own mind. It's not masculine or feminine. So its laws replace the ones you made to hold yourself a prisoner to death. Okay. So its life becomes your own. As you extend a little help, it asks, freeing you from everything that ever caused you pain. So what it's asking is that you cooperate in this, in its mission to free you from everything that ever caused you pain. And why would you resist that? Maybe instead of its life, its awareness. That's what it really means. Its awareness becomes your own. Remembrance of pure formless awareness, that's what it is. Its awareness becomes your own as you extend the little help it asks in freeing you from everything that ever caused you pain. So you extend this out through you. The Holy Spirit becomes your awareness. There's no separation anymore. And you become the instrument of it in this world. Okay, makes sense? Can I give a little summary of that?
You let go of this exchange for the sorrow of the world. Listen. It's just remembering you are the one, or remembering your oneness.
Yeah.
Yeah, gentle lessons. How easily awakening. Yours.
Just going to change that to how easily you can awaken. How easily you can awaken.
It's just practice.
Yeah, exactly. Practice, practice, practice.
Yeah.
Practice makes perfect. That's why it's called spiritual practice.
Yeah. Yeah, just being just understand.
And what it's going to try and do for you is free you from everything that ever caused you pain. Well, why would you cooperate with that? You want to be pain-free. You want to be happy. This is the awareness that's going to give this to you. Okay, so number 10. Happy with number 9?
I don't know if my brain is.
Ah, it's not your brain, it's your mind. Feels like the brain, but it's actually the mind. Okay, so Sally?
And as you let yourself be healed, you see all those around you or who cross your mind or whom you touch or those who seem to have no contact with you, healed along with you. Perhaps you will not recognize them all, nor realize how great you're offering to all the world when you let healing come to you. But you are never healed alone, and legions upon legions will receive the gift that you receive when you are healed. That's a nice one, isn't it? That's
Yeah, legions upon legions.
much easier to understand, that one.
So do we need any translation there?
Recognize has got a Z instead of an S.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it looks
See,
like
so we generally translate see as perceive. So you perceive, because you're not really seeing with your body's eyes, you perceive all those around you, or who cross your mind, or whom you touch, or those who seem to have no contact with you, healed along with you. I'll take out the commas there, I think that might be better. Those who seem to have no contact with you, healed along with you. So you just perceive that this is a universal awareness. Perhaps you will not recognize them all, nor realize how great you're offering to all the world when you let healing come to you. Nor realize how great your gift. Realize how great your gift is to all the world. When you let healing come to you, and let healing come to you when you let yourself be healed. But you are never healed alone. Legions upon legions. Receive the gift that you receive when you're healed. So, legions upon legions. Many people and thousands of people, legions upon legions, and many people will receive. How about that?
Yeah.
Receive the gift that you receive when you're healed.
Yeah, shall I read it again?
Yeah.
And as you let yourself be healed, you perceive all those around you, or who cross your mind, or whom you touch, or those who seem to have no contact with you, healed along with you. Perhaps you will not recognize them all, nor realize how great your gift is to all the world when you let yourself be healed. Oh, my screen's gone blank. Hang on. My laptop's overheating or something. You let yourself be healed, but you are never healed alone. And many, many people will receive the gift that you receive when you are healed. Yep.
So the reason this is true is because we're one mind, right? So we know that there's only really one mind, there's one quantum field, there's one morphic field, as Rupert Sheldrake calls it. And that's all mind. So we're living in this mind. And so you change your mind profoundly, you correct your mind, you heal your mind, that will have an impact on the whole mind because everyone's connected to you. The more people that heal in this way, the more likely it is that others will heal. They've done studies in the animal world of behaviors. There's like a certain behavior, like on an island, for instance, that monkeys start doing. They start cracking a nut in a certain way or something. And then they don't just see it in that monkey troop. They see it in monkey troops on other parts of the island. And then it spreads to other islands. And they go, well, how does that happen? Because there was no physical communication between those troops. They're living in separate parts of the island, even separate islands, separated by miles of water in some cases. And yet the entire monkey population of that region starts to display that behavior, and then worldwide you see monkeys start doing it. So how does that all work? Well, it works on the basis of mind, morphic resonance, the morphic field. The change in mind happens for that species. They're all connected on the mind level, and then it gets communicated on the mind level, and others start doing it because they're all tapped in. So this is why healing, you never healed alone. Because you change your mind, you're helping the entire mind of the sonship, every seemingly separate mind that thinks it's human, to heal its mind at the same time as you. That's why he says, you're never healed alone. Okay?
Yeah.
Questions on that? Happy?
No, that makes perfect sense.
Right, let's move on. So number 11, number 12. Oh, I thought this was it's 15. I thought it was 12 for some reason. Okay, on we go. Number 11. So those who are healed.
Those who are healed become the instruments of healing. Nor does time elapse between the instant they are healed and all the grace of healing it is given them to give. What is opposed to God does not exist, and who accepts it not within its mind becomes a haven where the weary can remain to rest. For here is truth bestowed, and here are the illusions brought to truth.
Okay, so let's do a little translation there. So whack that in there. So read it again. We need to change anything. Those who are healed become the instruments of healing. Nor does time elapse between the instant they are healed and all the grace of healing it is given them to give. All right. All the grace of healing it is given them to give. So it's saying it's all actually happening simultaneously. All the grace of healing it is given them to give. Understand that? Maybe we can make that a bit simpler. Grace of healing. How about they'll they're called on. So it is a call, isn't it? All the grace of healing they are called on to give. So that's actually the moment, the instant they are healed, and all the grace of healing they're called on to give, it's actually all happened simultaneously. It just plays out in time. To take Anita Moorjani, she has the instant she's healed in a near-death experience, and then her life becomes dedicated to healing, to give the healing that she's received. And that all actually, the seed of that all happened in the near-death experience. They're saying actually it's all happening simultaneously in truth. The moment you heal, then all of the consequences of that healing are there already. All the grace of healing they are called on to give. Fortunately, well, in time, it just plays out in time. We give the grace of healing to others because they need to learn these lessons in time, just as we did. Okay? The next one, what is opposed to
what is opposed to pure formless awareness of perfect love does not exist, and who accepts it not within its mind becomes a haven where the weary can remain to rest. For here is truth bestowed, and here are the illusions brought to truth.
whoever does not accept it within his mind, so whoever does not accept it, into his awareness, becomes a haven, or maybe just accept it. Whoever does not accept it, that's simple, isn't it? I like that. We just take out the mind. Whoever does not accept it becomes a haven where the weary can remain to rest. It's a nice method, nice sort of analogy there. It's a haven where we can rest after a long day of travel, and the weary can rest. For here is truth bestowed, and here are all illusions brought to truth.
I think I'm going to jump off the call now, John.
Okay, we're about to do a meditation if you want.
Are you?
Yeah.
Okay. I think my brain is just so kerfuffled. I'm not taking this in now.
Here is truth realized, here are all illusions brought to truth. Okay. So he's just saying, as you're healed, you'll be called on to heal. And as you teach it, so you learn it. So the healer is really healing themselves in and through this process.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. So moving on to number 13. So this will take us into a meditation. Sally, do you want to read that?
Would you not offer shelter to pure formless awareness of perfect love's will? But you but invite yourself to be at home, and can this invitation be refused? Ask the inevitable to occur, and you will never fail. The other choice is but to ask what cannot be to be, and this cannot succeed. Today we ask that only truth will occupy your minds.
Yeah. The thoughts of healing.
Oh, occupy your minds that thoughts of healing will this day go forth from what is healed to what must yet be healed, aware that they will both occur as one.
Okay, so translation. Do not want to offer shelter to pure formless awareness of perfect love's will, to, I think just pure formless awareness of perfect love will do, because it's the awareness is the will. You only invite yourself to be at home. Okay, so this is your true self. Can this invitation be refused? Can you, let's make that active, can you refuse this invitation? So it comes into active rather than passive. Ask the inevitable to occur and you will never fail. The other choice is, I need to ask what cannot be to be. So you're asking for what cannot be, an illusion, an impossible illusion to be. Ask what cannot be to be, and this cannot succeed. And this cannot succeed. Okay, happy with that?
Yeah.
Cannot be to be. So it cannot really be, and yet we ask it to be. And so by our desire, we bring an impossible dream, an impossible reality into some kind of being. But it still has no true being because it cannot be. Get the logic of that. Today we ask, only truth will occupy our minds. So that thoughts of healing will this day go forth from what is healed. Thoughts of healing will, how about go forth, will radiate outwards. Quite nice. Thoughts of healing will radiate outwards. Thoughts of healing this day. Do we need this day? Thoughts of healing. So the thoughts of healing will radiate outwards from what is healed to what must yet be healed. Aware that they will both occur as one. And then instead of this day, right now. As one in the now. Okay. Did you want to read it from the top?
Do you not want to offer shelter to pure formless awareness of perfect love and only invite yourself to be at home? And can you refuse this invitation? Ask the inevitable to occur and you will never fail. The other choice is to ask what cannot be to be, and this cannot succeed. Today we ask that only truth will occupy our minds, so that thoughts of healing will radiate outwards from what is healed to what must yet be healed, aware that they will both occur as one in the now.
As one, maybe just as one now. Make it even simpler. Offer shelter, maybe we can make that. How about offer space?
Yeah.
And that's really what you're doing.
Shelter was quite nice. I quite liked that one actually.
Did you? Okay.
It's safe and cozy.
Yeah, I suppose that's what he's. It's the home shelter analogy, to offer shelter. So we can keep that image if you like it. So yeah, any thoughts on that? What's he saying there in summary, that paragraph?
Can you refuse? Why would you refuse this invitation to be pure formless love and invite yourself to be at home? And Allow your mind to be healed and for that to radiate out in the now.
The only other choice, he's giving us the alternatives, is to ask what cannot be to be, the impossible idea of separation, a separate self, to be, and this cannot succeed because it cannot really be, and so it's always going to be a violation of the truth. Would you not prefer to have healing, heal yourself and heal others, and be one of the instruments of healing in this world, than dwell in sickness and suffering and pain and death? Okay. So number 13, where are we? 12, yeah, 13.
But you said you were going to do a meditation in a minute.
Yeah, so this, he's asking us to remember as the hour strikes. Interesting, where's the longer practice period in this? I'm looking at it. He normally says do a longer practice and then a shorter practice. So where's the longer? Where's the longer one? We haven't skipped anything, have we? 12, 11, 12?
Got 2 12s.
12.
No.
Oh, wow. Okay. I tell you what we've done. Okay. Version control issues. That's from the previous 12, 37, 12, and 37, 13. Yeah, I'm going, that was from a previous version. That's what happens. Okay, so if you like, I can, remember as the hour strikes. We can do this as a meditation. He doesn't seem to have done the 11, 12. No. He normally has a longer practice. He says do the longer practice. So we'll just do it on the shorter one. He's saying, remembers the hour strikes, our function is to let our minds be healed. So I'll do this as a meditation in a longer med, if you like. So do you want to go into that?
Yeah, I'm going to hop on my phone.
Okay.
See you in a minute.
All right. So just making yourself comfortable. Okay. All right, so making yourself comfortable, sitting your feet shoulder width apart, back straight, cup your hands in your lap, close your eyes, and start off by taking a nice deep breath in through the nose. So breathing in, noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises, and the subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Just clenching the sphincter muscle, lock the energy in. Draw the energy up the spine into your heart center. Putting one hand in your heart, connecting with your heart space. And draw it up into the crown of your head. Pausing at the top of the inhale. So just be aware of any thoughts, any emotions, any body sensations around sickness, belief in sickness, whether it's your sickness, any kind of body condition that's not ideal for you at the moment. So you mentioned a blocked nose, bring that into awareness. And just try and observe the thoughts and the emotions, the feelings and the body sensations around it. Breathe into all of that. And breathing in the light of true awareness. If it helps you can breathe in a light, golden or white light, and observe any limitation to that light, any darkness. Remind yourself that when I'm healed, I'm not healed alone. And letting your mind be healed now, the sick belief in separation, just as you exhale, blow away the breeze of your breath to the nothingness that it really is. Going, gone. The nothingness it really is. Pull the lower stomach into the spine, expel the last remaining air out. And you just rest. Rest in the pure formless awareness, perfect love. For a few moments. There's really nowhere else to go, nothing else to do, nothing else to think about. Breathe, relax, be still, sink inwards to the peace of God, peace of love that surpasses all understanding. It's been called in the Bible. Just surrender into that. And if any thoughts of sickness in any way, shape or form arise, so any block to the awareness of love's presence is sickness. It could be a minor irritation, ranging to intense rage, fury, anxiety, depression. Just observe thoughts, emotions, and sensations showing up for you, and remind yourself, when I'm healed, I'm not healed alone. I can let this go, and I can let it all go, play my part in the one-ment. Just let it all go with the breeze of your breath to the nothingness it really is. And no dark clouds to obscure truth, which is pure formless awareness of perfect love. So just surrender into that experience. Nowhere else to go, nothing else to do. Sinking inwards, going deeper and deeper with each breath to the still, calm, quiet, peaceful state that lies at the very foundation of your mind, your true awareness, your pure formless awareness of perfect love. God, the grounded being, as it's been called. Just sink in to this deep state, surrender to it completely. In this state of mind, you're healed. Know that when you're healed, you're not healed alone, so you contribute to the healing of everyone, the entire world. It's benefiting from simple practice of you sitting quietly and allowing healing to be. And just sinking into the stillness, deeper, quieter, more connected to the source of healing with every breath. And I'll leave you in the stillness and the silence for a few moments. Any thoughts arise, anything at all, just observe it. It's probably irrelevant in this context because pure formless awareness of perfect love doesn't require any subject-object thoughts. So whatever it is, just observe it. Imagine it's like a cloud. It's drifting by and you help it on its way with the breeze of your breath. As you exhale, just letting it go to the nothingness that it really is. And stay rooted in the blue sky beyond the clouds, which is the pure formless awareness, perfect love and the light that shines through it. Sink into that. For another couple of minutes of deep silence. Remember that your function is to let your mind be healed. So you carry healing to the world. Exchange curse for blessing. and for joy and separation, for the peace of God. Give the next couple of minutes to that, to receive a gift like this. Not a little time, a small expense to offer for the gift of everything. So give the next couple of minutes to this holy purpose fully, completely. The next 2 minutes of deep silence, just surrender to the experience of pure formless awareness, of perfect love. So just gently coming back from this deep state of awareness into the body, awareness of the body and the breath and the senses and the world. And on the count of 3, you're going to open your eyes So one, just breathing in, noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises, subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Again, scanning your mind, notice any thoughts, emotions, sensations going on in the body. And if there's anything that's not quite right, that doesn't feel happy, peaceful, observe it and once again release it with the help of your breath. Blow it away like a dark cloud. It's leaving you, going, gone into the nothingness that it really is. Pull the lower stomach into the spine. Expel the last remaining air out. Notice the chest and the stomach subside, the energy that you raised up at the crown of your head. Now in your lower stomach and your groin, count of 2 while your energy is there, tension's there. Notice the weight of your body pressing down into chair, your feet touching the ground. Noticing what you feeling and touching. Notice any sensations in the body. And just stay rooted in this awareness. Remind yourself, when I'm healed, I'm not healed alone. And I would share my healing with the world so that sickness may be banished from the mind of perfect love. Perfect love's one Son, who is my only self. So with that affirmation, you're going to set the intention to stay here in this awareness. To keep you there, just practice today's lesson well. Send you a short breath break to help you do that, or instructions to do that in under a minute. So practice this lesson to keep you in this awareness. Rest of the afternoon healing. So it is said, so it's done. And then on the count of 3, open your eyes. Take a moment to look around, observing the various objects in the room around you. Without any judgment, without interpreting them, you notice that this state of awareness, this pure formless awareness that underlies it all, is still there, very much still there, and that you rest in this awareness. This is your default awareness that you can stay connected to, you can stay in always. It's the awareness that cannot leave you. This is what it means to be healed. So when I'm healed, I'm not healed alone. And so this awareness that you have, and you help other people to have the same awareness. So you would share your healing with the world. You want to share your healing with the world by maintaining this awareness so that sickness may be banished from the mind. Perfect love's one extension, which is yourself. And on that note, that brings us to the brings us to the end of the meditation and today's session. So thank you. Thank you, Sue, for joining, and I will see you again, I hope. Would you like to take on the to take up the offer of the free trial?
Yes, I think I will. I need time to process. I think I need to go and lay on the grass now in the sunshine. And it was a struggle at the end because my brain was completely kerfuffled. Yeah, I'll go and process.
Okay.
Anyway, I've got your number through Sally.
Yeah. So just message me and let me know. I think I've got your email address.
You might do. Sally might have sent it to you already.
If you'd like to join, I just need your mobile number as well, and I'll add you to the Telegram group, so you'll get all the recordings as of tomorrow. Okay, well done. It's a bit of a marathon, but we got there in the end.
I don't know. I want to go and lie outside in the world that I know at the moment, and just taking the sun and
go do that. Sure.
And
just be present.
Yeah, lovely. Thank you so much.
Okay, only a pleasure.
Okay, all right.
See you soon, I hope. Namaste.
Okay.
All right, bye for now.